What the fuck?
And if you told me this was medium hot, I would laugh in your face. I get zero tingling. Um, and it's like slightly different flavor profiles. It's a little less like pepper, it's a little less spicy in terms of like cumin and shit. But fuck, it's good. Yeah.
Super Sigma stats. Nearly 2,000 damage done. 1 final blow. 2 accretion stuns. 0 accretion kills. 0 gravity flux kills. 2 deaths.
Did you see the Washington Shock match?
I saw the end of it.
I didn't watch it.
It was fucking brutal.
Yeah, it
I
did not
bet.
end well, from what I hear.
I mean, who did they play against that was like an actual potentially good match? Oh, Paris, right?
Yeah, that
And they
was
just-
all right in the
They
beginning.
just dicked on Paris, and then it's like, well, feel bad for Washington because
Yeah,
we all know what's coming.
If you want to know how bad it was, Super played Sigma on the first map, and on the last map, Violet went Lucio.
Mmm.
And I think Rascal or Striker went Genji, just because they could.
Yep.
And they just absolutely, it was not even close. It was hilarious. The good thing I'm not.
Congrats to Washington Justice Bob. 50% of his team's kills on Blizzard World.
Oh no.
Bob attempted a Fleta deadlift.
Yeah, you know what? Watching that, I would believe it. I don't think I put enough curry on here. Oh well.
Oh no, Violet played Lucio and Striker played Genji.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Good fucking lord.
Yeah, I said it was Striker or Rascal because I didn't remember.
Oh, Rascal
But-
Genji is legit.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which one was the legit one. So I assumed when you would hear that, which one was more ridiculous. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting Overwatch today. Florida also kind of got dicked on.
Oh really? By Valiant?
I can't
Yeah.
believe that the Valiant coach did another one of the Shaq's dick.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
was
God. That's what
redacted
you
at
said.
Shaq's OW, redacted queries to at Florida Mayhem.
Yeah, Valiant got point A and B on Hanamura in I think 5.5 minutes remaining, which
Nice.
is disgusting. I'm ready when you guys are.
I am ready as well. So I'm gonna hit the
Might need
start
it.
button.
I might need to get water at some point, but right now I'm just gonna chill.
So
All right.
so I'm Keegan. Is that the deal?
Yeah, you have to read it, which is gonna be terrible for you because there's a lot of lines. But
Fuck. When I was 7, I was sent to live with my uncle. I had just lost my parents to a car accident, the same one that left the right side of my face disfigured.
Meanwhile, you look at the right side of his face and it is pristine.
yeah, that is the first thing I noticed when I
He
looked
just
at
has eye
this
patch.
was that, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. He did his best to make me feel welcome, but it wasn't enough. Bullied by my peers and ignored by people that were supposed to help me, I didn't fit in anywhere. And I spent most of my childhood thinking that it was somehow all my fault. One day, after I came home crying, my uncle pulled me aside and said to me, "People are fools, Keegan." Excuse me, I had to burp. He didn't say that.
Excuse me, I had to throw up.
Blinded by their own stupidity, they seek to destroy what they don't understand. But people like you and me, we're different. We're better. Never forget that.
Mm.
We're not
His
like
uncle's a
other villains.
racist.
At that moment, it all became clear. I finally understood what I had to
Look at this expression on his face.
do.
Smiley.
I'd follow my uncle's footsteps, and I'd show them. So what do you think? I'm only missing the essay section of the application. I don't know why the League even asks for one. There's nothing particularly evil about good grammar. I laughed nervously at my own bad attempt at a joke.
There you go.
What?
You have to laugh nervously.
The League of Evil is the highest authority when it comes to criminal activity around the world. They can make or destroy a supervillain's career with a single word, and even those that don't answer to him know better than to oppose them. Membership is for life, and vacancies are rare and far and in between. Even getting the opportunity to apply is difficult enough. Good lord, this is a lot of text. I'm perfectly confident in my ability to deliver a flawless application, of course, but one can never be too sure. Which is exactly how I ended up asking one of my uncle's henchmen for his opinion on my application.
It's about passion. Common criminals are a dime a dozen, but being a supervillain requires true dedication. He claps his hands together in excitement.
Graham?
Oh, that's
This
me
is
again?
back to the eye. So.
God damn it. He's almost as enthusiastic as I am about the idea of getting to join the League, which makes the fact that I have no idea of what his name is rather embarrassing.
It's Joe Expendable.
It's not that I don't care, it's just that after a while, henchmen just sort of blend in together.
During training, we were shown the video of the boss's speech at the Allied Nations. It was wonderful. Half the room was in tears by the end of it.
It's the one about how powerful countries abuse the voting system of the organization to legitimize their actions, isn't it? I've seen it too, it's really good.
It's not for nothing that Human Resources make all the new recruits watch it. In just a few words, you can really feel what the boss is about. What makes him different from all the other supervillains out there. You don't need to worry so much, right from the heart, and you'll do fine. Besides, you're Sphinx's nephew. It runs in the family, he said so himself, didn't he?
I groan. Ugh. Ugh. Don't even start. It's bad enough that people think I only got to the opportunity because of him in the first place. The last thing I want is for it to actually be true. Getting into the League by my own merits is the only way I'll ever be taken seriously as a villain. By them, and everyone else. Not to mention, he has this weird idea about how spending all my time down here is not good for me. And it's not something recent either, because intelligence agencies were always looking for my uncle. We never stayed too long in one place. As a result, I was homeschooled for most of my life. But ever since I finished my high school studies 3 years ago, he's been trying to get me to enroll in college, an actual college with other normal people. At first, it was just subtle hints and the occasional comment, which I accepted as his way of showing he cared about my future. However, since last month, he's been bringing a bunch of pamphlets home. He went as far as outright telling me that if I was having a problem choosing, I should study engineering like he did.
Speaking of the boss, when are you planning to tell him?
I have managed to keep the application process a secret for the better part of a year, but it can't remain that way forever. As proud as it makes me that he hasn't found out yet, I'm no fool. I know that luck has played at least some part in it. Besides, I meant it when I told the henchman that my uncle is the biggest inspiration. My biggest inspiration. His approval would mean a lot to me. The next time I see him, I suppose, it will be better if he hears it from me now and not from the League after I get accepted. He hates being left out, and considering what I'm planning, he might just have a stroke.
Well, here's your chance. He's heading our way.
What? He was not supposed to come back until tonight. The henchman.
Henchman shrug.
Fuck, alright. I turn around and see my uncle walking through the door. He has never been a particularly expressive man, but he looks even more serious than usual.
Good morning, boss. The henchman salutes him.
Glances him with a nod as he leaves. Silent me now say good luck in my direction.
Okay, I don't know who's supposed to say that.
I just said it.
Good job.
that you say.
Traitor!
Good job, traitor.
You're early!
There was an explosion in the lab. There's toxic material everywhere, and since it will take the cleanup crew a few hours to get rid of it, I told everyone to go home for the day.
Dude,
I
he's
look-
a good boss.
Ooh, yeah. I look down and notice that his clothes are stained with some kind of black substance. Instinctively, I take a step back. He looks down as well, shakes his head, and waves his hand in a dismissive gesture.
This is just oil. I was working on some of my old prototypes when I was informed of the explosion.
Anything I can help with, boss?
No. I went to clear up some of the space in the storage room. I'll get rid of whatever I can't get in working condition. And how many times do I have to tell you that you don't need to call me that?
Sorry, I spend so much time with the henchmen, it rubs off after a while.
Among other things.
Wait,
Uncle.
What? Oh.
Really? That was years ago, and it only happened once.
As far as I know, only because he got eaten by a shark before it could happen again.
Oh.
Yes. The time the
minute.
feeding cage malfunctioned, and our perfectly trained sharks decided to have him for lunch instead. What an unfortunate coincidence.
Definitely not the uncle murdering his nephew's gay lover.
The corner of his lips quirks up in an amused smile. I barely resist the urge to roll my eyes. Have you had the time to go through pamphlets? The entrance exams begin next month, so you have to submit your papers as soon as possible. I spoke with Madame Mantis. Madame Mantis. I don't know what she prefers. She said that if you're interested in moving to America... Wait, this isn't America? She'd be happy to help with anything you need.
He does look German and weird.
Ever since she retired, she has amassed quite the list of contacts I'm going for like Italian. List of contacts for Board of Education. In fact, if you get everything else ready before next Friday, she'll personally write you a recommendation letter.
It's from Madame/Madame Mantis, though. Like, who's gonna want to?
I met her a couple of times. She was, well, this is for, I'll read this part for you, Graham, because you got a lot of dialogue.
Shoutouts to Justin.
I believe these are your thoughts. She was a proper villain, the kind of woman that never does things out of kindness of her heart, meaning that he either asked for her for a favor or she owed him one.
Either way, I bet he's only telling me this so I feel pressured into enrolling. I'm glad that you brought it up, because I've been meaning to talk with you about that.
You have? Does that mean you've chosen a college already then?
Not exactly.
Not exactly. Keegan, cut to the chase.
Oh, now he's Russian.
He changes. This is a result of the prototypes that he was working on.
What if I didn't want to go to college?
He stares at me in silence for what feels like an eternity. Finally, he closes his eyes and begins to rub his temples.
Oh, actually, we should just do whoever isn't currently a character can do the interludes.
Okay, that's fair. I'm gonna go back to the original Sphinx voice because I like that the most.
Yeah.
You've been over this before. You need to do something with your life. You do a good job around here, but you can't keep running around with the henchmen forever.
Wait, just hear me out. The reason I don't want to go to college is because I want to become a supervillain, just like you. In fact, I've already contacted the League. They think I've got a lot of potential, Uncle. They are just waiting for me to submit my full application.
When did you even have the time to do that? Save it. That's not important. Helping me out and being an actual supervillain are two completely different things. The League's application process is infamously hard for a reason, Keegan. Many people have died trying to impress the Council. Why do you even want to become one?
Uncle, please. I've gone through the curriculum of every major college in the world. Good God, that's a lot
What
of time.
the fuck?
Several times, actually.
He's like 22.
They've got nothing to teach me. I could go straight to a doctorate for just about every field I'm interested in. Why should I waste my time with frivolities when I could be doing something that actually matters? You are the one that always says that people just don't know what's best for themselves. Well, I do. Besides, I've been helping you out practically my whole life. I'm not making an uninformed decision. I know exactly what I'm getting myself into.
Are you sure about this?
I've never been more sure about anything.
Have you decided what you're going to call yourself? Do you have a base of operations? What about a plan? How are you going to pay for everything?
Do you remember the weapons dealer that sold you the parts you were missing for that death ray? Turns out that he also handles mercenary contracts, and he comes highly recommended in that regard.
Yes, they do.
He said that he would lend me one of his bases. You know, just no big deal. And some people, if I went over a couple of the blueprints his scientists are working on. I know it's not ideal, but it would only be for a day or two. After I'm accepted in the league, I'll have enough resources to get my own. Great.
He crosses his arms, and there's another moment of silence.
You are serious about this. I won't be the one to stop you. But you are going to do this properly. Call the weapons dealer and tell him that you won't be needing his services anymore. He'll use my lair and my men. We'll draft a contract, and if anybody asks, you rented them.
Thank you, Uncle. I promise I won't disappoint you.
Of course you won't. Now come, tell me more about your plan.
Dude, this guy's a good evil dad.
Yeah, that's, you know what? I'm happy I went with that voice.
A month
'cause it's
later.
a little fatherly.
Location of National Museum of Science, Bonn, Germany. I pretend to adjust the strand of my hair behind my ear, pressing the button in my earpiece to increase the volume. Boss, I'm in the control room. I've taken care of the security recordings. The police won't find anything of use in them. The men are all in their posts and ready to go too. They'll be waiting for your signal. I'll stay here for a little longer to keep an eye on things. Please let me know if you understood.
I nod.
Alright. See you in the auditorium, boss!
As an aspiring supervillain, particularly one hoping to join the League, there are two things to be taken into account when it comes to carrying out plans: visibility and chance of success. Just like there's no point in doing something so uninspired that it barely makes it to the local news, there's no point in getting arrested on national television. Finding balance is key, and that's exactly why I've chosen Bonn's National Museum of Science as my target. It's a beautiful place, and just like its research center hosts many important scientists, its vault is home to a lot of rare and expensive equipment. Despite that, under normal circumstances, there wouldn't be anything particularly worth stealing here. But starting today, the museum will be hosting the Schultz-Holt collection of rare materials, its main piece being the famous Ungelauge diamonds. I don't know. Besides being one of the largest cut precious stones known to man, its purity and chemical composition make it one of the most versatile energy conductors in the world. Of course it is. In addition to, this is the, what do they call it? The, there's like a word that they attribute to, like, the thing that has a lot of power. The MacGuffin.
Yeah,
that's
the
it.
MacGuffin.
In addition to the exhibit itself, the museum board has also invited Professor Schultz to give a conference at the end of the inauguration party. Schultz is both a geologist and a political activist, and he's greatly respected in both fields. To make sure that no other villain interferes, I told both the League and my uncle that I'd be planting bombs in the museum and holding the guests hostage for a ransom. Very few people are willing to risk getting blown up by a first-timer, after all. Or at all. But actually, my real plan is... Alright, Graham.
Do we steal the diamond, or do we kidnap Professor Schultz?
What's more evil?
I feel like kidnapping.
Don't we want the MacGuffin, though?
Oh yeah, MacGuffins are pretty important.
Alright, are we gonna MacGuffin it up, boys?
Gotta MacGuffin it up.
Let's
Because
MacGuffin.
then also, like, we get the spies going after to recover the jewel, and that's some good spy shit.
Alright, so we're going to be stealing the diamond. Oh, Andrew says kidnapping is definitely more evil.
Oh. Oh, sorry, Fidwell. We'll go with yours next time. Stealing the Ungelog certainly won't get me any points for originality. It's changed hands so many times it has to be authenticated every time it shows up.
Oh no, we made the wrong choice.
But with so many important people here, A robbery is bound to get all of the media attention I need, and then some. Besides, I can think of a thing or two that I can do with the diamond itself for the time that it takes me to find a buyer for it.
Butt plug.
Jesus.
It's a great plan, if I say so myself. If my nerves don't kill me first, that is. Until Schultz conference begins, there isn't much for me to do except wait. The only reason I got here at the beginning of the inauguration, in the first place, was in the case of the henchman needing me for something.
Boss, I don't know how to pee.
Can you hold it for me? Unfortunately, that also means that I've had plenty of time to go over my plan in my head, including all of the little details that could go wrong.
I hate to admit it, but my uncle was right. Being the mastermind of a plan, instead of just another person helping out, is a completely different experience. But it doesn't matter. When I join the League, I'll get to tell the story whichever way I want. None of the boring parts, none of the doubt. Everything was perfect on the first try.
In the end, I decide to go grab a drink at the bar while I wait. Oh boy. The bar is actually more of a counter in one of the corners of a lobby than its own separate place. It's meant for people who want to get something to drink without having to find a place at one of the tables, or wait for one of the servers to take their order. As I approach, the first thing I see is a man surrounded by a small group of people, most of them women. I can't get a good look at him from over here, but every once in a while, the whole group erupts in laughter. After the third or so time that it happens, the bartender walks over from behind the counter and says something to them. He probably asked them to either lower their volume or leave, since the group began to disperse right afterwards. Now by himself, the man takes a seat next to another blonde man. Commas. He leans back on the chair and begins swinging it back and forth.
By it, you mean his penis.
Yeah.
Stop, Jesus Christ.
Alright, so there's a dude in the chair,
He's holding that knee.
and there's a dude. Alright, here we go. There's
Oh.
a dude on a drink and the table.
Justin, do you want to be brooding or do you want to be suave?
Which one do you feel more comfortable with? I'll take the other one.
Oh, I can do an excellent British suave man. No,
Okay, you can do the suave man. I'll be brooding.
No wonder he was surrounded by women. He's pretty handsome. And the man next to him isn't too bad himself either. Definitely a much better view than what I had at the lobby.
Oh jeez.
A moment passes, and the man in the tuxedo says something. They exchange a few words, but the expression on the blonde man's face is so unfriendly that they don't really go beyond that. If looks could kill.
Stab me, daddy.
In any case, I don't have much time to think about it. At that exact moment, the first man turns around, and our eyes meet.
Stars fly.
I look away to see if he'll do the same, but he doesn't. Instead, I can feel him staring at me until I give up and look back. He makes a gesture at the bartender to order another of whatever he's having.
What is this gesture?
One of the
It's like
It's like
it's like a
point
circle with
bartender,
your
point
fingers.
drink,
I think.
point guy, point drink,
Yeah.
point bartender.
You'd flash him a 2 or something. Now with the additional glass in hand, that was quick. He approaches, stopping right next to me and leaning against the counter.
Having fun?
From his body
Oh
language
goddamn, he's a fucking American. No, he's British.
and his accent, I'd say he's American. I wave my hand in a
You're
dismissive
just really bad at placing accents.
Do what you want. You can continue with your accent.
Yeah, but Justin, you're doing the in between.
I wave
think.
my hand in a dismissing manner.
Yeah. Not really. Watching the governor try to explain the merits of mineralogy has been the highlight of my evenings. Is mineralogy a thing? Anyway,
I think so.
weird word.
These things are usually more lively. Well, as lively as events of this sort can get. Last time there was this professor from Columbia. What was his name? Anyway, he's convinced that Schultz's methodology is faulty, so he always ends up causing ruckus wherever they meet. But this time, the committee made sure that the guest list is as inoffensive as possible. You didn't hear it from me, of course.
Of
Ooh.
course. Oh,
Drink.
Shit, I accidentally hit the right click. Okay, we're good. Justin.
He raises the glass towards me. I saw him order it, but but I didn't see the bartender pour it, so of course I'm not going to accept it. I shake my head and pick up my own glass, almost empty by now from the counter. Commas.
No, thank you. I already had one.
He shrugs and takes a sip.
It's quite good, isn't it?
Hello.
German alcohol is one of the 2 reasons I'm glad the Soviets only got to keep half the country.
And the other,
Germans.
and the other one is.
Germans.
By now, it's become clear that he's flirting with me. Whether he's actually doing a good job is a different point altogether. I decide to.
Ooh.
Oh, Bidwell, what do you want from us? It's alright, Sam.
Oh, Sam, I didn't even hear you join the chat.
We got the chat. Anyone in the chat want to answer?
Chat.
Do we
Spam
flirt back
one.
with this sexy American British man? Flirt back, obviously. Here we go.
Okay,
boys.
we got to vote for flirt back. Press 1 for flirt back.
Flirt, bitch.
2
Let's
for
go.
try to get rid of him.
Flirt
I already
back.
clicked on flirt.
Okay.
Well,
It sounded like we're flirting back here.
I've already clicked on it. So.
Okay, we're flirting back.
Well, 2 can play it that game in the same game. Let's see him put his money where his mouth is.
Of course. One of those things is much more fun than the other.
The penis. He laughs. Put down one of the glasses and offers me his free hand. I take it and give him a grin in return. The handshake lasts a couple of seconds more than strictly necessary, and instead of simply letting go at the end, he slides his fingers across my palm. I curl. I have to get closer to the mic for this. I curl my fingers slightly so that they interlock briefly at the end. That does it. He begins oogling me in the least subtle manner known to man.
Johns, it's a pleasure to meet you.
The pleasure is all mine.
Don't take this the wrong way, but you look kind of young for an academic.
I'm still an undergrad. I'm hoping for a chance to discuss my thesis with Schultz before I submit it.
Asking Schultz for his opinion about an undergrad thesis. That's quite a high bar you've set for yourself.
Trust me, you don't even know half of it.
So, what is it about?
Well, in simple terms, I'm researching ways to improve the accuracy of the tools used to locate and harvest petroleum deposits. It would make extraction quicker, cheaper, and more environmentally friendly. Right now it's all theory, but I'm pretty sure that my calculations will lead it to being applicable.
That's quite impressive. All the better for me. I like them smart.
With a grin, he puts a hand on my shoulder and leans in close to me until his face is practically touching mine. His breath feels hot against my ear, and mixed with the faint smell of alcohol coming from him, it's enough to send a shiver down my spine.
Maybe we could discuss some of your ideas in private.
I'm tempted. So very tempted. But if I miss Schultz, my thesis supervisor will have my head.
I take a step back and he lets go of my arm.
What a shame. But I understand. Next time, then.
He picks up the glass, chugs down the rest of the drink, and winks at me before turning around and walking away.
Disappointed.
As soon as he's out of my sight, I let out a sigh. Let out a sigh, Graham. There you go.
What gall! If I had been anyone else, this could have ended badly for him. No, it
What?
doesn't matter. I'm not planning to see him again anytime soon.
There's a buzzing sound from one of the nearby speakers, and I turn my attention to it.
First call, please proceed to take your seats. The conference will begin in 15 minutes.
When the announcement is done, I head towards the auditorium. Other than the first 2 rows, which have been reserved for politicians and the press, the seats aren't numbered. Terribly inconvenient for people that would rather secure a good place without having to enter early or wait too long in a line for it. On the other hand, it's perfect for someone like me that would rather not have a name attached to their tickets. When one of the ushers takes my ticket, I recognize him as one of my uncle's men, just like the henchman said. He directs me towards a free seat at the corner of one of the middle rows. Perfect. Nothing would ruin a dramatic entrance like having to ask people to stand up so I can get to the stage. Once I'm at the seat, it quickly becomes obvious why no one else had taken it yet. Sitting next to me is the blonde man from the hall, reading the program with an expression on his face as unfriendly as one he had back there.
Excuse me, is this seat taken?
He looks at me, shakes his head, and goes back to reading without a single word. Under any other circumstance, I wouldn't care, but come on. He talked to the other man at the bar, and I don't get more than a side glance. It's entirely possible for him to just be some regular guy with bad social skills and poor German, but he didn't even attempt to answer in English. Leaning closer to him and lowering my voice so that no one else will hear, I begin to speak to him in Russian.
Oh no.
I've heard that Russians have a lot of trouble getting travel permits nowadays, even those who have never been to the Soviet Union. I can't even imagine how hard it must be for actual Soviets to get out of their country.
That gets his attention enough to put down the program and turn to me. He looks like he's assessing me and trying to intimidate me at the same time. If I'm completely honest with myself, why am I interested in talking with him?
Ooh.
Why is he interested, people?
Why are we interested? 1, because he insists on ignoring me. 2, because there's something suspicious.
I need
about
more
it.
booze.
If anyone's listening in the chat, do we have are we interested because he's ignoring us, or because there's something suspicious about him? This guy's shady as fuck. All right,
I mean, you're right. He is pretty shady.
you're not wrong, and I'm inclined to agree with you. He's sus.
Okay.
right.
Okay. It's looking
Looks
like
like-
number 2.
Yeah,
We'll have to wait for Gray to get back. I'm going to go grab some more booze.
yeah.
I got my
I'm gonna
drink of
click on
choice.
I'm gonna click on it anyway. All right, we'll wait for Gray so that we can continue the story. This guy is
Scotch.
all right. So this guy is Russian, I guess.
He's
So I have to be
Russian.
You
Russian
don't have to be
brooding.
Russian. I'm being British for my American guy. We've already decided that the main character is just very bad at placing accents.
That's true. Alright, so because there's something suspicious about it.
Okay.
All right, Gray.
It's not uncommon to find Russian expatriates in high-profile events, but in general, they're pretty easy to recognize. This man isn't one. I went through a lot of trouble to make sure no one would interrupt me today, so if there's something out of place about him, I need to know.
Me neither. But I imagine it's just about as difficult as finding someone that will teach you Russian on this side of the world.
His accent is very thick, even in Russian.
Come on, Justin.
Thankfully, I speak the language fairly well, otherwise I would have regretted my decision as soon as he opened his mouth.
As with all things, it's a matter of knowing the right people. Speaking a language won't get you arrested, though.
That depends on how you use it.
This is the worst Russian accent I've ever heard.
I'm not doing a Russian accent.
Alright, fine. And how do you use it? How do you use it?
Who are you?
No one of consequence, as long as you don't get in my way.
We exchange a look of suspicion before he goes back to reading, not without hesitation.
A+ accent.
It seems like I'll have to keep an eye on him. Justin, you are the announcer.
You are the
Now,
PA.
Please remain in silence for the duration of the conference. We'd like to remind you that photography is strictly to authorized press.
The lights of the room begin to dim until they turn off completely, and the auditorium's only remaining illumination are the spotlights above the stage. A man in a suit appears from the left end of the stage, followed by Professor Schultz. He stops at the podium, and soon any hopes of conversation are drowned out by the audience's applause. Please welcome Hans Schultz, head of the Schultz-Holt Foundation.
What Professor Hans Schultz?
Oh, yes. There's another round of applause, this time much louder.
After a couple seconds pass, Schultz holds up his hand, and the whole room goes quiet. Slowly, the floor next to him begins to open, and everyone watches in awe as the case in which the diamond is kept raises from it. I'd seen pictures of it before, of course, but it doesn't compare to seeing it in person. As you know, the Angelogue is among the rarest gemstones in the world. Flawless both in its surface and its interior, it allows both heat and electricity to be conducted with a minimal dispersion up to... I pressed the button on the side of my watch. I couldn't risk bringing too much equipment on my person, as I managed to fit both a communicator and a small laser into my watch. At my signal, the doors burst open and the henchmen appear, while the other ones that had been posing as ushers hurry to lock the doors behind them. My uncle only ended up lending me about half a dozen of them, but since the people inside have no way to tell, they are more than enough. There are whispers of confusion at first, but the room goes completely quiet when Schultz slams his hand against the podium. What is the meaning of this? Security! Get these people out of here! I guess actually, Justin, you can take the things about being Schultz.
I stand up and I'm escorted to the stage by that one henchman whose name I should probably know by now. While we walk,
Well, hey, boss.
while we walk, he goes ahead and hands me the controller for the bombs. It's mostly for show, since we only wired enough bombs to mess up some of the less important rooms slightly, while the rest are decoys set to release smoke. Of course, they don't know that.
There's been a slight change of plans, Professor.
As I take the podium, I put down the control in front of me, and I signal a henchman to restrain Schultz. They both get off the stage, and he leads the professor towards the side of the auditorium.
9999!
Jesus.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. If you cooperate and do exactly as you are told, no one will get hurt. When you look back to this moment in a few years, you'll realize that it was the most important day of your lives. Scientific achievements, political careers, everything you've done will pale in comparison to this instant. And that is because today you'll become part of history. You'll have the honor of witnessing the birth of one of the greatest supervillains known to man. Dr. Cyclops.
Oh, that's so bad.
That's so bad. Holy God.
Jeez.
As of right now, you also have the honor of being my hostages. Hopefully the government values your lives.
I'm briefly interrupted by the sound of talking coming from amongst the seats. I decide to ignore it and continue.
Enough to pay the...
Shit. When it happens again, I stop speaking and begin to look over the crowd, searching for the source of the interruption. Most of the guests have either a look of fear or discomfort on their faces, and some of them even shake their heads when they notice me looking at them.
What do I have henchmen for if they can't even keep these people from talking at the same time as me?
Sorry, boss. I'm still in the bathroom.
You didn't hold my penis yet!
Oh, no.
Finally, I notice that the henchman is out of place. Standing at the end of the row rather than at his place. Oh shit, I went really far forward for some reason.
Yikes.
Just a moment.
At his place next to Schultz.
At his place next to Schultz. He seems to be arguing with someone. I step down from the stage to get a better look, and I recognize the other person as the man from the lobby.
Hello.
Oh,
What are you doing? Sit down.
I'm going to the bathroom, unless you want me to get sick all over the floor.
He stands up and takes a few steps forward. Actually, it's more of an awkward stumbling. He looks really drunk.
Oh, drunk voice time. Hey, I said you aren't going anywhere.
The henchman grabs his arm to stop him. Suddenly, the man turns around and punches him square on the nose, knocking him out cold in the process. Stepping around the henchman's unconscious body, he puts a hand inside his jacket and takes out a gun. At first, I'm amused by the idea of getting shot by an overeager drunk, but he manages to point it right at me just fine.
Agent Hunter, Global, you're all under arrest.
Shit. People begin to turn to look at him, whispering to each other until the crowd's attention is divided between the two of us. Meanwhile, None of the henchmen moved, unsure of what to do. The only security on site was supposed to be the museum's guards and some of the local police stationed outside. There was nothing to make us think that an agent of Global would be here, let alone armed.
Wait, didn't he just steal the henchman's gun?
No, he pulled it out of his
Oh,
jacket.
he pulled it out of his
Yeah,
jacket.
yeah.
Okay.
The henchmen could deal with him through sheer numbers alone, but I need to keep them control the crowd. If everyone begins to panic, it's not going to be good for any of us. I decide to try and bluff, so I shrug and laugh it off.
Nice try. But you wouldn't risk a shootout in a room full of civilians. Or for me to blow this place sky high.
I pick up the control and put my index finger on the big red button in the middle of it.
See this? My men have put bombs all around the museum. One false move and I'll push it.
With you still inside? No, I don't think so. As for your henchmen, my aim is pretty good, and something tells me none of them want to be the one that gets their boss shot.
Guess we'll have
Guess
to
we'll
see
have
who
to-
sees faster. Fuck you. Get him!
The henchmen are getting ready to fire when I'm blinded. I'm blinded a flash of white light.
Nice.
Mm.
Out of instinct, I drop the control and raise my arm to cover my good eye, but the movement makes me lose my balance and I end up falling back.
Oh no, my arm moved too much. Grenade! Everybody get down!
Hold your fire!
My vision is blurry, so much that I barely see the second flash of light when it goes off. I hear the people begin to scream, but the noise sounds distant, as if I was in another room altogether. It's not much of a relief, but at least that means that they were flash grenades rather than fragmentation ones. It takes a it takes a couple of seconds for my eyesight to come back completely, and a couple more for me to regain enough strength to be able to stand up.
Oh, it's smart. You know, you poke the Cyclops in the eye with the torch.
Yeah. I look around. Half of the henchmen are on the floor, covering their ears in pain, and the other half still look too confused to do anything. Upon realizing that no one is blocking their way anymore, the people in the seats begin to run toward the exits in panic, pushing each other and screaming. By the time the henchmen try to regain control of the situation, the whole room has descended into chaos. In front of me, Agent Hunter points his gun in my direction and begins to approach, or at least, he's trying to. His hand is shaking so much that it's obvious he's just as disoriented as I am. I frown.
If it wasn't him, then who?
He looks at me, then at the floor, and stops. I look down as well, and realize why.
It's the control.
He hurls himself forward and grabs it. I take the opportunity to kick the gun out of his other hand, but he holds onto my leg and pulls me down with him.
Mm.
We both end up on the floor, trying to wrestle the control out of each other's. While Agent Hunter may be stronger, right now I'm the one in better condition. So I managed to hold my own against him. We keep rolling around on the floor until I manage to flip him over and pin him down.
Great.
Has anyone ever told you that this is your best angle?
Shut up and give it back.
As we continue to struggle for the control, I notice someone get on the stage out of the corner of my eye. I turn my head and see the blonde man from the lobby walk up to the diamonds case and lift it up. It's a brief distraction, but it's enough to give Hunter the upper hands he needs to push me off him. When I fall back, the control is sent flying into the air, and Hunter and I stare at it as it lands right on the detonator.
Well, shit!
Of course, nothing happens.
It's a decoy, isn't it?
Hunter shakes his head in disbelief, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. But instead of looking angry, he seems rather amused by the whole situation. Having decided that his immediate business with me is done, he runs past me and into the stage to catch up with the other man. They begin fighting over the diamond right away, trying to keep the other man from getting a proper hold on it. They're pretty evenly matched at first, but the longer the fight lasts, the more Hunter struggles to keep up.
Shouldn't have drank all that booze.
Whoever the Russian is, it's clear that he's not just a random guest or some opportunistic thief.
It will be an easy mission, they said. No one cares about that old rock anymore, they said. What does the KGB even want with it? Don't you commies dislike everything that might be worth more than rubble?
Be quiet. That diamond is the property of the Soviet government. I've come to take it back.
Global and the KGB? I knew there was something odd about those two. I feel someone pull my arm, and I turn to see that the henchman has finally regained consciousness. His nose is bleeding from Hunter's punch, and he has a split lip. He's pretty lucky that he didn't get trampled by people on their way out.
Boss, we should leave.
By now, the room is almost empty, and the only ones left here, besides the four of us, are the rest of the henchmen. At least they have enough common sense to not try to pick up their guns again. With how bad they look, I wouldn't trust any of them with one. I shake my head. Like hell we are. I'm not going back empty-handed. Get everyone out of here, and meet me by the vehicle. I'll take care of this myself.
He gives me a hesitant look. When he doesn't move, I snap my fingers to get him to hurry.
What are you waiting for? Go!
I still have to pee!
His pants are still not on. He still doesn't look too convinced, but he doesn't say anything. He nods and goes to pass my instructions to the other henchmen. I walk back to the stage where the Russian managed to open the case's lock while also keeping Hunter away from it. There's no way I could take them out both on my own and get away with the diamond. But if I wait for one to deal with the other, and I corner whoever gets on his way out to the exit, I may have a chance. They both reach out to grab the diamond at the same time, but instead they knock it over and it rolls all the way behind the curtain. The Russian pushes Hunter out of the way and goes after it, with Hunter following a second later. I lose them from sight for about a minute, my view obscured by the curtain. Finally, a hand pulls the curtain aside. It's...
Oh, shit.
Alright, chat! Who do we want to have the diamond? The smooth talking Agent Hunter or the brooding Russian?
The supposed Russian. We don't know if his accent's Russian.
You have an earpiece that lets you hear whatever accent you want. That's why that's why you're so bad. You keep forgetting.
Like in Hitchhiker's Guide.
You just saw this guy and be like, nah, man, he's American, but I'm gonna listen to him as British.
All right. That was a pretty big, tough choice, but I'm leaning on the Russian one.
I'm leaning towards the Russian as well.
I'm partial to the Russian because I'm the Russian.
So my reasoning for the Russian winning here is that Agent Hunter has had at least 2 drinks and
Hunter
losing the fight to the Russian.
All right, the Russian it is.
All right.
Unanimous.
Indeed.
The Russian pulls aside the curtain with one swift move of his arm, holding the diamond in his free hand as he walks out from behind it.
I'll take
They hurry to the exit. All right.
Putting myself between him and the lobby, he stares at me with a mixture of incredulity and annoyance, as if my presence hadn't been something worth noting until this very moment. He puts the diamond inside his jacket and rolls back his shoulders.
I have no business with you. I'm only here for the diamond.
Though luck, because I came for it too. And I got here first.
If you don't move right now, I will move you.
The tone of his voice makes me hesitate, but I stand my ground. He takes a step closer, but before he can make good on his threat, we're interrupted by a crunching noise.
What was that?
He stops, and we both look up. Cracks are beginning to appear in the building, with dust and debris slowly falling around us as they separate it from the ceiling. There's another sound, and this time it's one we both recognize. It's a bomb going off. It's closer and louder than the last one, and I immediately know that I need to make a decision. I either stay and try to get the diamond, or I get out of here. I'm getting out of here. The situation keeps getting worse, and the more I think about it, the less I think staying behind on my own was a good idea. As I consider my options, a big piece of concrete comes loose from the ceiling, right where the Russian is standing. Instead of moving, he stays in place and raises his arm, blocking the falling concrete with it.
The fuck?
I let out a gasp, expecting that to be the end of the Russian, but as soon as it hits him,
The concrete block splits in half.
Damn, this guy lives. What the how the hell did he do that?
The Russian takes a moment to react. Once he does, we both rush inside as quickly as we can, practically pushing each other through the door. Did I die?
I don't know yet.
What happened to me? It slams shut behind us, and we stagger forward as the building shakes violently. I get to the beginning of the first row of chairs before I trip, falling to the ground. The Russian passes me without a single worry for my situation, and I'm left on the floor, covering my head with my hands in case something else falls from the ceiling. Fortunately, that doesn't happen. After a few seconds, it's all over, and I get up as carefully as I can, just in time to see the Russian walking over to the door, and suddenly punch it, getting me to almost jump from the surprise. The door bends slightly, which is rather impressive in its own right, but not much happens other than that. Under any other circumstance, my mind would be racing with the possibilities about the Russian, but for the moment, I'm more focused on the door.
Museum doors aren't usually that strong, so there must be something on the other side applying pressure to it. Probably a steel beam? In that case, we won't be able to leave the building through there anymore.
I'm so deep in thought that I don't notice when he turns around, getting close enough to me to grab me by the neck of my shirt and slam me against the nearest wall.
You have 10 seconds to explain what happened before I decide whether to kill you.
I begin to wave my hands, trying to get him to understand that he's grabbing me too tightly for me to speak. He seems to realize and loosens his grip slightly, just enough for me to actually get words out, but I still have trouble breathing.
I can't explain if I can't breathe.
If I can't breath!
I can't.
Then I suggest you talk before you run out of air.
I let out a strangled cough.
Jesus.
The bombs were all decoys. I couldn't have set them off even if I wanted to.
Lets me go and takes a step back to give me some space. I fall down, barely managing to prop myself up by leaning against the wall.
I need some
I
water.
take a moment to catch my breath, rubbing my neck as I stand up.
Sorry. And how do you know it wasn't one of your people? You threw the flashbangs, didn't you? It's your fault we're here in the first place. If you hadn't interrupted me, we'd all be home by now.
If you had better intelligence, you wouldn't be here. Whoever got it for you did as much of a poor job as the American.
Excuse me? Last time I checked, there were 2 of us trapped in.
Did I die?
You must be a very poor agent. You got stuck in this situation despite having better intel than either of us.
He crosses his arms, giving me a silent frown. I can't help but getting a smug sense of satisfaction from it. I turn around and walk away, trying to remember what the other ways out of here are. My first idea is to try to climb through the stage to get to the stage door, but I discard it as soon as I realize there's too much rubble there for me to go through. Even if I were more athletic, they definitely should be were. I don't trust my depth perception that much, because he doesn't have any.
That's a very good point. I guess that my only other option is looking for one of the air vents.
Finding an air vent is easier said than done, and between the busted lights and having to be careful in general, it takes me about an hour to make any real progress.
Oh shit.
Jeez, an hour?
Because the vent I end up finding is barely above ground level, at least I don't have to climb on anything. Since it's partially covered by a wooden panel, I need to remove it before I can tell whether I'll be able to use it to get out. But when I try to take the cover off, I feel my hand tingle with the sensation of an electric current. It's made of wood. I move away from it as fast as I can, and I realize there's a torn cable right next to the panel. Almost right away, the cable begins to let out sparks from its end. The cable had been right outside my field of vision until a moment ago, halfway covered by the panel. Fortunately, I'm no worse for the wear other than surprise, and I let out a sigh of relief.
Damn. That was close. If I hadn't reacted so fast, that would have been one very nasty burn.
After that, I'm hesitant to try and keep going ahead by myself. I have no way to treat an injury, especially a bad one. Which means
Ugh.
I take a moment to consider whether working with the Russian is better than the possibility of electrocuting myself to death, and come to the conclusion that it is. If I'm lucky enough, he'll need me for something, and it will spare me the moment of embarrassment.
I decide to use the opportunity to change out of my suit and into my uniform. It's about as dirty, but it's a lot more comfortable. I wouldn't want to change in front of the Russian, that's for sure.
Not yet.
When I head back to the entrance, I see that the Russian is still trying to get the door open, to no avail. For an hour! Now he has both his hands on one of the sides, trying to get his fingers in the small space between it and the wall to get a better grip.
Better that door than me.
He stops and turns around. He seems to be just as frustrated as I am, so I suppose there won't be a better time for this.
Listen, I've got the blueprints of this place memorized, but I can't look around all by myself.
I make a vague gesture towards the damaged side of my face, the
The pristine,
pristinely damaged side of my face, other than the eye, apparently.
pristine deformed.
And it doesn't seem like you've gotten very far either. We should work together.
He doesn't look too convinced.
The other option is that we wait for my men to figure out where we are, and I have to clean up your blood for my brand new diamond.
Ooh.
Unless you're confident that you can get out yourself, or that someone is going to get you before my henchmen get here.
It's a bluff. I'm pretty sure the henchmen noticed I didn't make it out the same moment I didn't meet them like I said I would. But if there's no easy way out, there's no easy way back in. Besides, it's a matter of time before the police show up. And if the other man really was an agent from Global, they'll be here too. The Russian looks at the stage, then back at me. Even from this distance, it's easy to tell. Are you gonna say something?
No, I was just whooshing my head.
It's easy to tell that it's not a place to just wander around aimlessly.
Very well. But if you try anything.
I look away and adjust the neck of my shirt.
Yes, I know. One needless display of violence per day is enough. From now on, every time you look at me like this, I'll just assume you're picturing yourself choking me, alright?
His lips quirk upwards slightly, as if he's trying to fight back a smile. It's just mildly insulting.
If we're going to be working together, I think I need something else to call you besides the Russian.
He doesn't answer. It's not like I was expecting him to tell me his real name, but an alias would have been enough.
Or not. Suit yourself. Maybe it's better to keep it this way. I heard that once you name them, you can't get rid of them.
That earned me a smile.
You can call me Seer
Sergey.
Gay.
Sergey! Oh, that's a bit on the nose, ain't it?
I'm Sir Gay.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it's also enough to give me a name.
Very well, Sir Gay. I'm...
Cyclops. Yes, I heard.
And he's back to being rude. I'm a little surprised to hear that he was even paying attention to what I was saying when I got on stage.
Now, lead the way.
He waits until I begin to walk to follow me, and I lead him back to the side of the stage where I was a moment before. Despite the fact that it's just as dark and full of rubble as before, Sergey's presence makes it easier. Mostly because I don't have to worry about tripping over anything. He's clearly annoyed with having to keep an eye out for me, and doesn't so much as warn me as push me out of harm's way, but he does a fine enough job.
Here it is. The additional air vent should be somewhere on this wall behind a fake wooden panel. I need you to knock on the wall until you find one that sounds hollow, then remove it.
Is that what you were doing?
He gives me a look of slight incredulity, as if he were expecting me to give him a series of really complicated instructions or a long explanation. The implication is not lost on me, and I frown in return.
Manual labor is a lot harder when you've poor depth perception. Besides, I did find an air vent, but it had live wires next to it, so it was useless either way. Stop looking at me like that. And get to work already, jeez.
I stand aside as Sergei begins to run his hands over the wall, starting at the top of its height, and then knocking on it as he goes down. As he continues to examine the wall, I can't help but notice the way his sleeves keep creeping up on his arms with every other movement. And it's not just because he has nice arms, either. There's something odd about them. I'm not an expert in anatomy, but I know enough to notice the way his muscles move don't quite correspond to what he's doing.
No matter how strong they are, normal people just don't use their arms to block falling concrete.
Justin's a fucking cyborg.
He held me against the wall so effortlessly, too.
The robot.
He
Well-
isn't some ordinary agent, I just know it.
If we're a cyborg and a cyclops, we're the we're the side gaze.
Cyber sex coming in.
Ayo.
I could easily ignore it since it's not directly related to our situation, but human modification of any kind requires pretty high-end technology. It's not the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of the Soviet Union. My curiosity won't let me be until I get some sort of information out of him.
Considering that he almost couldn't be bothered to give me a name, the chances that he tells me something about him just because I ask are slim.
I have an idea, but that doesn't require his cooperation. But the downside is that if for some reason I'm wrong, he's going to be really pissed. Really, really pissed.
He's gonna grab his dick.
Do we take a chance? Throw a rock at him to see him catch it, or won't risk it, I'll just ask.
Alright, are we doing the anime thing and throwing like some random shit at him to see if he's like a ninja in the past? Or we're just gonna ask him? What do we want?
Dude, fucking chuck a rock, for sure.
How is it not risking it by asking when he said that he would get pissed if he did ask him? That sounds like a risk.
Throw shit at him. Yeah, I agree. Let's
Logan
do it.
wants to throw shit.
Throw it.
Andy wants to throw it. Alright. We're throwing a rock. Well, here goes nothing.
I pick up a rock from the floor next to me, squeezing it slightly just to make sure it's solid enough, and I throw it at him with all my strength. Sergei turns around, catching the rock with his right hand before it has the chance to hit him. While his reaction time and reflexes are all well above average, that isn't what impresses me.
The
No.
bulge from below is
Stop.
His massive erection. No, what gets my attention are the way his fingers are digging into the rock. He's practically crushing it with his bare hands from the anger alone. And when he drops it, his shoulder twists just right for me to be sure he's gay.
I knew it. First the concrete block, then the door. And now the rock. Your arm, your other shoulder, and the upper part of your spine, too. They're not just muscle and bone. The KGB did something to you, didn't they?
As soon as I'm done speaking, his expression goes to anger, to shock for a moment, before he forces himself to go back to a more neutral expression. He can do that all he wants, but what I saw tells me everything I need to know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You can deny it all if you wish, but I'm pretty sure of it. Almost certain, even. I'm asking because I want to know more about it. I had heard of the experiments, but I thought there was never much reason to believe they were more than rumors.
Apparently, having decided that there's no point in trying to lie to me, his expression softened. At least I'd like to think that it's because of that, and not because he doesn't expect us to make it out of here alive.
I just like to point out that the way that Keegan is getting this information is just by saying, I've heard of these experiments, but not actually specifying what the experiments are. It's like when somebody asks you if you know something and you're like, yeah, I
Oh,
know
yeah.
it, but I just want to see if you know it.
Yeah, I've heard of these experiments before.
Uh-huh.
They're specially designed prosthetics.
Mm.
Soviet science is the most advanced in the world. It shouldn't surprise you that it's capable of such things.
Wait, so is he an amputee?
We'll
Really? Because what I heard is that most of the work was done by German scientists.
see. Like I said, poor intelligence work.
Oh shit!
Woo!
Sergey picks up the rock again and throws it at me, barely missing me as it hits the ground and shatters at my feet, as the shrapnel goes up and pierces through my legs and I'm now unable to walk.
But my
That if-
dick still works, so it's okay.
Stop! Holy shit!
They, he's got prosthetics in a lot of places, Justin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ayo.
That effectively ends the conversation, and he goes back to working on the wall. It takes Sergey a couple more minutes to finally find the correct panel. It's a little higher than the one I found, but it's not unreachable. He raises his arms, putting a foot against the wall while he grabs the side of the vent with his hands. But no matter how hard he pulls, the vent doesn't give in.
it's no use. The screws are partially melted. They won't come out.
He can break a concrete block with his arm, by the way.
Do you think there could be a fire on the other side?
Metal's not hot, so it's not likely.
I think for a moment.
I've got an idea, but something tells me you are not going to like it.
He frowned slightly, but since he doesn't say anything, I decide to continue.
I think your arm.
His frown gets worse. Basically a scowl.
Wait until I'm finished, alright? As I was saying, your arm may be strong enough to break a chip off the diamond. I could use the piece to amplify the potency of my watch. That way, the laser in it would be able to cut through the air vent, and we could remove it without causing damage to the wall itself. And even if the way out turns out to be blocked, it would also make the watch's radio signal stronger, and I could call my henchmen.
But
There's a good chance that your arm will stop working. You keep fiddling with it, and now that I know that it's not your actual arm, I can tell that something damaged it. My guess would be the concrete block.
Sergey has one arm folded over his chest, and as I speak, he keeps absent-mindedly rubbing his fingers over the opposing forearm, sexily. He looks down, and realizing what I mean, straightens immediately.
he's no longer gay, people.
Oh,
He's-
fuck!
he's
Should've
Straight
straight.
to
Should've picked the Brit!
Damn it. Depending on how it's connected to your body, further damage to it could be, well, since your fine motor skills obviously work well, my guess is that your arm is directly connected to your nervous system. Worst case scenario, you'll pass out from the pain. Even if everything goes perfectly, that would leave you pretty much unable to do anything with it. Justin.
And what guarantee do I have that you won't just take advantage of it and leave me here?
Take advantage.
Or that you won't just run off with the diamond?
I shrug, trying to pass it off like an unimportant detail. It's not like I was planning to do it, but put like that, it sounds exactly like the kind of thing that a supervillain would do.
It's not wrong.
None. You're going to have to trust me. We already agreed to work together. This just needs a little bit of more trust.
You're a scientist, aren't you? You could also repair my arm.
That would be the job of a fucking mechanic, you idiot. Are you sure? I wouldn't want to mess up some of that incredibly advanced Soviet science.
German.
Yeah, as we already know, he's refused to go to college for engineering.
Yeah,
So-
he's
Yeah.
read the curriculum from every college in the entire planet.
I pretty much
What the-
know it's going.
Multiple times!
Well, I heard the German scientists did most of the work. But if it's beyond your abilities, just need to say so.
Oh nah, fucking fuck
What are we
this dude.
doing? Are we giving in and repairing his arm, or we're insisting to get him to break the diamond?
Oh hell yes, we are stabbing. Listen, man, this is what it sounds like something a supervillain would do. We gotta get
how
him at a
how is he
disadvantage.
going to manly grab us if we don't repair his arm?
Exactly. I mean, if we're going to want to get in his pants eventually, we're going to have to repair his arm.
Do we? I mean that suave British guy. But really though,
British guy's dead!
I think he's.
yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened to him.
He very well
Like,
might be dead.
Is he seriously dead just off the one choice?
We'll see. All right.
I
he's
guess we'll
got
find
two
out.
arms.
So the point is though is that you did basically just say like, oh yeah, betraying this guy does sound something like a supervillain would.
He
do.
can live without one. Fidwell wants us. to insist him to break the diamond.
Hey, you can still jerk off with just one arm. Doesn't take two.
This is
You can-
true. You can.
Also,
He's got
then you can steal his
cybernetic.
broken arm and use that for yourself. So
They could just go back to the Soviets and have
All
yeah,
right,
them
get a
go
new
back.
fucking arm. Fuck
Yeah,
this guy.
Fuck
Yeah,
him.
incest. Let's break the diamond.
Yeah, fucking break the diamond.
I know what he's just egging me on to get me to do what he wants, so I'm not gonna play his game. Besides, I know I'm right.
If he wants to waste my time with things that may or may not work, he can do it when he's trapped alone. If you're going to wait for me to say yes, you might want to sit down.
We stand in place, staring at each other for about a whole minute.
Mm.
Fortunately for me, it seems Sergey pretty soon realizes he can't actually force me to do as he says, and he takes a step back to put some space between us. He puts his hand inside his coat and takes out the diamond. It's even more breathtaking up close. I almost feel bad about having to damage it. He gives me one last look, as if wanting to give me the chance to change my mind. I nod for him to continue, and he begins to press the diamonds between his fingers until a small piece of it snaps.
Ugh.
Suddenly, Sergey drops the diamond. He doubles up, pressing his arm against his body while he holds it with his opposite hand. He's trying to dissimulate the pain by keeping a neutral expression, but he ends up biting his lower lip so hard it starts to bleed. A moment passes, and his arms begins to swell, probably from whatever mechanism is used to make it work. Sergey claws at it with his fingernails until he manages to make a rip on his skin, and a thick blue liquid begins to drip out from the cut and onto the ground. The scene is pretty disgusting, and I can only imagine how gruesome it would be if it were actual blood instead. Somehow Sergey manages to not pass out from the whole thing, and his expression goes from pain to one of pure concentration. I'm about to kneel down and to check on him, but he turns his head away, just enough to glare at me, and I back away.
Stop looking at me and get to work already.
I pick up both the diamond and the piece that Sergey broke off, and after putting the diamond in my pocket, the least subtle,
Well, let me
thievery,
just take that.
I open my watch to start working. I can occasionally hear him groan, but since he didn't say anything, I pretend that I'm too focused on the watch to pay attention.
I'm groaning.
The villager
Background.
Minecraft sounds. It's a
Hey.
simple enough procedure, and it doesn't take me long to replace the battery with the piece of the diamond and close the watch again. The watch's laser easily cuts through the bolts holding the cover in place, and afterwards I'm able to remove it without much trouble. Okay, what was the point of the laser before he did this?
Oh no.
He can't even cut through metal. But as soon as I do, I realize that the vent itself is much smaller than the cover. There's no way that Sergey is fitting in there.
You know what the laser was for? It's because before all this commotion, he was gonna give a PowerPoint presentation, and he was gonna use it as a laser pointer.
About how
unfortunately-
good of a villain he is.
Yes,
Mm.
unfortunately, that was interrupted.
I think we were both hoping that he'd be able to get out on his own, even with a damaged arm. He notices it too, and stands up, and walks over to my side, leaving a trail of blue liquid behind him.
Barely more trust.
I had no way of knowing the size of the vent until you took off the cover. I assume that whatever's going on with your arm can't kill you, or you'd have told me that before.
He shakes his head, and I decide that it means it won't kill him, and not that he isn't sure of it.
Well, in that case, stay here and do your best to not go into shock. I'll try to find a way to get you out.
I don't need to look at Sergey to tell he's not pleased, but it's not like he can do much about it. I get inside the vent, and after taking a deep breath, begin to crawl. The vent is dark, and there's a strong smell of smoke, but it doesn't collapse on top of me, and this whole thing isn't as bad as it could have been. Getting to the other end of the vent feels like an eternity, but I finally manage it. The vent cover on this side is also partially melted, but since the damage is greater, instead of fusing the bolts to the metal, it removed them completely. It only takes me a couple of seconds of struggling to get the panel off the vent and get out.
That's something more to add to the lists of things I don't want to ever do again. He has multiple lists. Why not just one list? Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
Number
Lord.
1, women.
I can't believe that there are people that use these things to get in and out of places regularly. Well,
What?
Now that I think about it, what is the size of our air vents back at the lair? When I get back, I'm going to make sure that a person can't fit in there.
I take a quick look around the room to determine the situation. There's no sign of the police, or even of the agency. For a moment, it really seems like I made it. But when I get from the auditorium to the main hall, I hear the sound of steps coming closer, accompanied by voices. There aren't many places to hide while still maintaining visibility of the rest of the room, so I end up ducking behind a nearby column until I can get out and to get a look at whom the steps belong to. 2 men appear out of the corner, and it looks like they're wearing police uniforms. But once they're close enough, I realize there's something off about them. It's their guns. The ones they're carrying aren't type issue to the police department. I briefly consider the possibility that the two of them being undercover agents until they get close enough for me to make out what they're saying.
There's quite a number of typos.
Justin?
Do you want me to do this?
Yeah.
I wish they had sent someone else. Have you seen Sergei's record? He's a killing machine. I fought a bear with his bare hands and won. Once, and he won.
They are Soviets.
There's 2 of us and we're unarmed. He's not getting out of here alive. Besides, it's his own fault. He knows the rules, we all do. I'm not going...
This is like borderline Irish.
It's like Irish KGB.
Failure during a mission in foreign territory equals immediate termination. Now I'm like fucking French. God. Russian exit. They
Your
were very
nationality
clear when
fluid.
they said Sergei under no circumstances should be allowed to fall into enemy hands. They sound exactly the kind of people to make sure not to leave any witnesses. With some luck, I might be able to outrun them, but that would mean I wouldn't be able to go back to the auditorium. I decide to.
Ooh.
Are we gonna warn Sergei, or are we gonna get out of here?
We have to crawl back through all that fucking air vent again?
You know what? Call me biased, but I think we should go back and warn Sergei.
Fuck
Dude,
you.
Fuck Sergei.
Sergei
Dude,
can...
he's a killing machine. He
Sergei
can handle 2
helped us
random
to get
cop
out,
KGB agents.
alright? He
It's
helped
the
us
least
get
we
out.
could do for him?
Yes! Thank you, Fidwell.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Remember how long it took us to go through the air vent just to get out?
And how
The
much we
second
hated
time will
it.
be...
How much we
Alright.
hated it? We have to go back?
Are you really gonna disappoint your audience?
Okay, well, hold on. How are we... What is the point of warning Sergei? It's not like he can do anything.
Yeah, he's
Sergei
like,
might be a
oh
killing
yeah,
machine."
Sergei, the KGB agent's gonna try to kill you. He fucking
But he can
knows that.
slay the pussy! He can slay the pussy!
He
Go
knows that though.
Sergei. So chant with me, chat. Sergei.
Graham gets the executive decision here on the 2-2 vote, I think.
You're not wrong.
What
but
do you vote for, Gray? Do you want to get out of here?
I want to get the hell out of here. The
Uh.
dude is a killing machine. They said so to themselves.
Yes, the chat. Sergei. Let's go.
We have to go back and warn him. It's what the
Yes!
people want.
Yes. All right, let's do it.
These people are here for Sergei. He doesn't seem to have anything to do with me. Besides, there's no point in staying behind if there's nothing I can do to help him. What?
Wait,
Wait, did you take the? I think you clicked the wrong one.
Oh, fuck. Can I go back? Okay, I can't go back.
yeah.
Go back.
We
Come on.
can't leave
I can't
Sergei.
just leave Sergei like this. I don't consider myself a decent person by any means, but if Sergei hadn't trusted me back there, I would still be trapped inside the auditorium. It's one of those things that will just end up bugging me sooner or later. I just know it. I take a deep breath and begin to run as fast as I can, heading straight for the air vent without looking back. What was that? Over there, look! There's someone else here! Since this time I'm not worrying about whether the vent is safe to use, it doesn't take me even half as much to get to the other side.
Well, there you go.
Told you guys it would take less time.
Back at the auditorium, I find Sergei sitting on the floor, staring at the vent with so much intensity I'm a little taken aback by it when I first come out of the closet.
I could swear he looks as surprised to see me too, but it lasts about a second before his expression goes back to a scowl. Either way, he walks towards the vent until he's standing right in front of me.
There was no way out.
I raise a hand to interrupt him. Instead of waiting for me to speak, he takes it and pretty much forces me to get up by pulling me upwards. Once I'm sure it won't make him drop me face first onto the floor, I take a step aside to put some distance between us.
Sergey, be quiet and listen. There are 2 Soviet agents out there, and they came here for you. I need to know whether you can take them on, or if I need to come up with a plan that will get us both out of here.
Sergey turns to look at the door, then back at me. He looks awfully calm for someone who was just told he's about to be murdered by his own countrymen.
He knew all along.
I told you, bitches!
I'm about to say something when I'm interrupted by a groan.
Oh.
Sergey attempts to raise his arm, but he only manages to roll up his shoulder before it appears to lock into place. Whatever that blue liquid was, it probably was what allowed his arm to move as smoothly as it did. Without it, it's just his own muscles lifting all that metal.
I may be able to hold him back. I'm not sure.
You're not sure? If my...
Excuse me? Your prosthesis?
My prosthesis, my dick. Anyway.
If my prosthesis was in working condition, I would be. But as you can see,
I can barely move it.
I
Just
can
look at my
barely
penis.
move it. Are they carrying guns?
Pistols.
What type?
I throw my arms up in frustration.
Ah! I don't know. Soviet pistols.
Sergey groans again, this time
Ugh.
rubbing his nose with his working hand.
If I remember correctly, the chamber fits 6 bullets and the guns are semi-automatic. That gives us a small window to act between shots, and a slightly bigger one between reloads. I need you to distract them.
You need me to draw their fire? You mean?
He's shot in the other eye.
I mean what I just said. Distract them. Draw their fire if you can't think of anything else.
We don't have time to argue any further.
The door bursts open, and the first thing Sergey does is push me so that he's the one closest to it. My heart.
Oh, jeez.
One of the agents comes in first, while the other throws aside the crowbar they must have used to pry the door open.
Sergey, surrender and your death will be painless. Come and get me.
The agent holding the gun begins to fire, and Sergey raises his arm, using it to stop the bullet. I can see by the look on his face how much he's struggling. By the time the 6th bullet's hit, Sergey can barely keep it upright, and there's a puddle of blue liquid forming underneath him. It's piss. Fortunately for both of us, he was right, and there's also... Fortunately for both of us, he was right, and that's also when the gun runs out of bullets, and that agent has to pause to reload.
Sentences.
A distraction. Think. Think.
I look at the liquid, and an idea comes to me. Sergey, you're semen!
Sergey, move!
I point my watch at the puddle, and I turn the laser on. The liquid catches fire almost right away, exploding in a cloud of smoke and fire. Sergey gets out of the way just in time, but the agent doesn't, and his uniform catches fire.
Oh shit.
It's getting harder to see, but I realize that besides the smoke, there are fumes raising from the puddle. The smell is very strong, and it begins to make me horny. Dizzy. The last thing I see before fainting is a figure leaning over me. KGB agent number 2. Da-da-da.
Ellipse.
Oh boy!
Look at that! Daddy Sergey!
Oh, Sergey.
Oh! The zoom out even!
When I
Look at
regain
that.
consciousness, the first thing I realize is that I'm no longer on the floor. Instead of cold, hard marble, I feel someone's skin against mine. I'm being carried. My first instinct is to struggle, but the grip around me gets tighter to keep me in place.
Stop it, or you'll make me drop you.
I go limp at the sound of Sergey's voice.
Well, there goes the erection.
Shut the fuck up, Sergey. God. Such a vulnerable to kill.
Yeah, so Sergei's voice is super annoying. Like the guy's really happy. He's just like he's talking like the agent or the henchman earlier.
Like he wakes up, he goes straight like full 10 out of 10. He's super hard, and then Sergey speaks, and he's like, "Well,
Oh, man, I
shit.
thought it was the British guy.
oh."
And the memory of what happened comes back to me in a rush.
And just what do you think you're doing?
Where'd my shirt go?
A woman called. Said her name was Mantis.
You answered my communicator.
I touched my wrist, confirmed my suspicion. My watch is not there.
Yes, I did. Was I supposed to wait for you to wake up? She's coming to pick us up. For what it's worth, she sounds really worried about you.
You're right. I bet she just wants to have cleaned up Keegan's mess on her side when Uncle thinks about who to chew out first. Wait a second. Us?
When I told her what happened, she became quite interested in meeting me.
I can't even begin to imagine how that conversation must have been like for Mantis to agree that the best course of action was to meet with a complete stranger.
Threesome. Just like that? For all you know, she's going to shoot you the moment she sees you. You're a Soviet spy.
Not anymore, no.
There's a moment of silence that continues to carry me through the auditorium.
You know, I can
Blush?
walk.
Look at that blush.
Oh.
Look at that blush.
He is smitten.
I know that. I'm carrying you like this. I'm carrying you like this is in...
I'm
All right.
carrying you like this is in case they get any ideas about shooting me.
I'm just gonna... I know this. I'm carrying you like this in case they get any ideas about shooting me.
So he's gonna
I
use
raise my head. I raise
him
my head slightly.
as a
His-
meat shield.
Oh, he raises his head slightly to look at him and see that he's smiling. I frown in return, but as soon as he's not looking, I rest my head against his chest. All things considered, today could have turned out worse. The end.
And that was it? That was the whole thing?
That was all
What?
the steamy romance we got.
What the fuck?
Boo!
Ugh.
Consider... Wait! Click it again! Click it again!
Question. Oh!
Question mark?
Oh, it is it. Oh.
Fucking fuck.
Damn. Alright, so we got two things we can do from here. We can either stop, or we can go back up to where we choose
Let's go
agent.
back to where I fucking died at.
Do we wanna run it back?
Andrew's right, that was quite the tease.
What a tease.
I think we should run it back.
I want to see what the British man does.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay,
Alright.
so let's fucking spam.
When I was 7, I was
Mm.
sent to.
I did. Good morning, boss. Traitor, you're early, Sphinx. Hi, my name is Sphinx.
I am your uncle.
Hello, I'm a good father figure.
I am Russian man.
I've already
Just
looked
the way
at
I
all
am.
of
earlier in the conversation.
I've looked at all the college curriculums of all the world.
I'm just gonna click skip. Oh, okay. Easy.
Wait, skip
Yeah,
work?
click skip. It goes all the way to steal the diamond or to kidnap
okay,
Professor
so
Schultz.
we
Ooh,
steal
so-
the diamond.
Yeah, let's steal the diamond again.
and then we,
Wait, no, we kidnapped Schultz, didn't we?
No,
No,
we
we-
stole the diamond.
Oh,
we
yeah,
stole
yeah, yeah.
it.
Okay,
Did we
skip.
flirt back?
We flirted back.
Oh, we
We
100%
flirted?
flirted back.
We flirted
And
back.
then because there's something suspicious about him,
Something suspicious.
Yep.
Agent Hunter emerges.
All right, Agent Hunter emerges.
All right.
Are you
So now
ready?
Justin is the
Wait for Graham to
overlord.
get there.
Okay, are we ready for Agent Hunter?
I'm ready for Agent Hunter.
All right.
I see Agent Hunter crawl out from under the curtain, holding the diamond in his free hand. He looks a
That
little
Russian
beat
had
up,
Weird mech
but he's in
arms.
but he's in much better shape than I expect him to be after fighting the Russian, mainly because he's still in one piece. Hunter stands up and puts the diamond inside his jacket before running his fingers through his hair in an attempt to comb it back in place. He uses his watch as a makeshift mirror, and satisfied with the result, he takes a moment to look back to make sure that the Russian isn't going to follow him. When a few seconds pass and there's no sign of him, Hunter begins walking toward the exit. I leave the room shortly after he does, trying to remain close enough to keep an eye on him, but still far enough that he won't notice. The lobby is just as empty
Wait,
as
we
the
can just get
auditorium.
out?
Why? Yeah, this is easy. The end. Not even the guards are here anymore, and the police haven't come yet. With all the confusion, they're probably waiting for confirmation that there are no civilians left inside.
Good luck with that. There's no way of looking into the museum past from the lobby outside. Anyway, I'd better hurry before they change their mind.
Besides the front entrance, there's only one other way to leave the building from the lobby area, the emergency exit at one of the sides. Since he didn't head toward the front of the entrance, it means Hunter must be intending to get out through one of the emergency exits. I changed it a little bit. I turn out one of the hallways, hoping that I'm not wrong. I get to the exit, and Hunter arrives a couple of seconds after me, just
What?
enough time to put myself between him and the door.
How did you get there faster?
Bingo! He stops dead as soon as... Stops dead. He's dead. Again.
Rip.
As soon as he sees me, his eyes widening in surprise.
This is it, Agent. Hand over the diamond.
You're still here. Listen, it's been fun and everything, but I really have to go now. You're cute, and I don't want to have to beat you to go through you. Or arrest you.
This one's already sexier.
Why don't you do us both a favor and get away before the police or other agents arrive?
No way. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care if I have to chase you all the way to your agency. I'm getting my diamond one way or another.
Or your bed. He takes a step forward, shaking his head, but I don't move.
Fine. I guess we'll have to teach you to be more accommodating when someone is trying to be nice to you.
Mm.
But when you're sitting inside sitting on a cell, remember that you were the one who insisted on this.
Suddenly, there's a crunching noise. More crunching. Crackety crack. Loud enough to interrupt Hunter.
The ceiling falls
Wait.
on him, too.
We both stay completely still
just
for a
dies,
moment. Hunter is dead a third time. Trying to decide whether it's something that needs our attention more than each other.
Oh man, we have sparks flying.
The heat
I
of
hear-
this battle.
But this time, it doesn't stop right away. Instead, it keeps getting louder and closer until it happens to be coming from right above us. Dust begins to fall from the ceiling, and I cover my mouth with my sleeve. Hunter lets out a cough and does this. It has to be a more British cough.
God save the queen.
There you go. We stare at each other, neither wanting to be the first to look away.
Your
Finally,
eye, it's so beautiful.
I'm the one who gives in and looks at the ceiling. The noise is frankly too loud to ignore, and the closeness is worrying. I immediately realize the source of the sound.
It's the
Cracks,
ceiling.
cracks become to appear in the ceiling. There you go. All pieces of it falling off as the structure struggles to remain in one piece. At this rate, we only have a matter of minutes before it collapses completely.
How? It would take more than a couple of flash grenades to damage the building to this extent. Extend.
I try to think, but nothing comes to mind.
It doesn't matter. That's not important right now. I have enough time to either get out of here or stop Hunter. But not both.
Watch out!
Before I can react, Hunter grabs me firmly by the
Oh, by the hand.
and pulls me aside with such strength that I struggle to keep my balance. I'm about to protest when a steel beam falls from the ceiling,
Oh man, I'm
landing
so much
just
more
where-
romantic.
landing just where we were standing a couple of seconds ago. Both of us instinctively take a step away from it, and we exchange a surprised look. Though we aren't hurt by the fall, the beam ends up in a position that completely blocks the door with it, and with it, our way out.
Let's go back while we still can.
The dust continues to fall around us, turning so heavy that it obscures my vision more and more by the second. Still holding my hand, Hunter pulls me along him as he runs toward the auditorium, going so fast that I can barely keep up. He doesn't slow down, but when I feel like I'm about to fall behind, he tightens his grip so much I'm forced to quicken my own pace as much as I can. He barely managed to make it inside, dodging the debris on our way before the building becomes too dark to move around. Fortunately for us, the auditorium has a much better ventilation system. Or, rather, its ventilation system is actually still working. The lights flicker on and off every other second, but they are mostly functional too. It's enough for us to be able to make our way further into the auditorium, and the first thing I notice is the state of the stage. The concrete wall behind the curtain is missing, its whole middle part, with exposed wires and metal pieces lying on the floor. This sounds familiar. It looks like a bomb went off right behind it, which would explain both the noise we heard and what happened to the rest of the building. Behind us, the movement of the building adjusting itself causes the door to swing until it finally slams shut. We stop, and when we reach the seats and Hunter crouches in the space between them and the stairs before pulling me down so I'm in the same position, it's so small that it's almost suffocating, but there are also not as many things that potentially could fall on us, kill us. We remain in place until the noises die down, and for a moment after that, just in case, before slowly getting up when we've made sure that it's safe to do so. I step away from Hunter, pulling my hand toward me so that he lets go of
We've
it.
been holding hands this whole time.
Yeah.
There's something on your Are you alright?
I look down and realize he's talking about a blood stain on my shirt. Put a hand against my chest. I'm immediately relieved to find out that it doesn't hurt to do so. I pull my sleeves up and take a look at my arms. I've got some cuts and scratches, but nothing big enough to be where the stain came from.
It's not mine.
Good. One of the longest minutes of my life. I thought you said the bombs were decoys.
They were. Something else must have happened. Whoever blew the stage must have done it.
Oh, I blow the stage all the time.
Well, if you want to blow something else.
You went through the trouble of putting decoys and replacing the workers, and you didn't notice there was a real bomb in here.
I frown. It's not only the tone in which he's saying it. He's absolutely right.
Oh, fuck, is it
Someone's
Madam Mantis?
Someone's oversight almost got us killed back there.
Well, it's not like your people noticed either. Wait a minute. How do I know that Global didn't have something to do with it? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been inside when the building began to collapse. And I still don't know what you were doing here in the first place.
We had no way of knowing that the museum would be empty by now. It might as well have been full of people. Which, unlike for some people, is a problem for us.
It is now?
Yes. Especially when half of those people are Western politicians and scientists.
I suppose you have a point. That just leaves the Soviet agent then. I'm pretty sure he was the one who threw the flashbangs.
I look toward the stage. I didn't see him on our way out, and there's no sign of him here.
Oh,
Is he still alive?
I subdued him by fucking his brains out, don't worry.
As if reading my mind, Hunter sighs.
Let's hope he didn't get away, or else we're going to have yet another problem in our hands. Anyways, this isn't how they usually work, but I wouldn't put it past them. You can never be sure when the commies are involved.
Put it past them.
On the good side of all this, if it was him and he didn't get away, we won't be seeing any more of them. Their operations are usually rather limited outside of the Soviet Union, so there's a pretty good chance that they won't bother with an agent that didn't report back. If there were others, they probably retreated already.
In that case, let's get out of here. I'd say it was a pleasure, Agent Hunter, but it really wasn't.
We start to walk toward the exit. Hunter steps ahead of me and puts a hand on my knob, turning it all the way.
Ow.
He pulls and pushes, but my knob doesn't move. He tries turning my knob in the opposite direction, but he gets the same result.
What
He
is this
stands in
made
front
of?
He stands in front of my knob for a moment, staring it with an unsure expression. Well, he rubs the back of his neck.
knob. Ah!
What do you mean with huh? Hurry up and slob my knob. I mean, open the door already.
It's dark.
You've got to be kidding me. Move.
No, my dick is stuck.
I push him aside and I try to open the door myself. Hunter is right. It won't open. I kick it and even slam my shoulder against it. But all I managed to do was end up sore from the effort.
Just what I needed. As if this whole thing wasn't bad enough. I can't even get out of here.
Keegan is the least evil name, by the way.
This is at least what?
Evil.
What are we doing? Are we getting angry or are we staying calm?
Oh,
Ugh.
legitimate man-child for sure.
Well, what gives us the best chance of fucking this guy?
well, you gotta show some passion.
Yeah, I guess the angerness, the anger, the angriness, the angriness, whatever.
Angerness.
Rage.
Passion.
Oh, Logan says passion. All right.
Logan wants the angry.
Angry.
We got
Angry react.
we got Fidwell. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we gotta
Yeah.
wait for it.
I don't know if Andrew's still tuning in or not.
You know what? I think we all agree on the angry though.
Yeah,
We all agree.
I'm thinking angry.
One person in chat agrees. Good
All
enough
right,
for angry.
let's go with
All right.
angry. In the heat of the moment, I turn to face Hunter and start to jab his chest with my dick,
Mm.
with my finger as hard as I can. I'm furious, and unfortunately for him, he's the only person nearby for me to let it out on.
Oh, let it
Oh.
out, baby.
Oh, you're letting it out on Hunter, huh?
It's your fault we're trapped in here. My plan was flawless. If you and that Soviet hadn't interfered, we'd all be home by now.
He pushes my finger aside with a flip of his hand, then fixes his shirt.
That was view butting, Graham.
Oh, thank you.
It wasn't really that flawless if you didn't consider that this could happen, was it? I mean, ending up trapped would be pretty high on my list of things to avoid.
Well, you don't.
Look at the blush.
Oh,
I
yeah.
throw up my arms in frustration as I turn around and begin to walk away. Hunter is about to put a hand in my shoulder. In my shoulder!
Jabs it through.
To stop me, but I glare at him.
Maybe Hunter also has bionic arms.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And he pulls back at the last second.
Wait, where are you going?
To see if there's another way out.
I'll go with you.
Maybe a back door. Mind you. No, I don't need your help.
Please, you're the bottom if I've ever seen one.
Hunter says something else.
That's
What?
what I said.
By then, I'm too far away to actually hear whatever it is. ... I spend about 2 hours
2
searching the
hours?
auditorium, doing my best to recall where the exits are located according to the blueprints. It's
I
an
swear
arduous
there was
task,
a fire safety exit right here.
Yeah, where are the fire signs?
made worse by the fact that I've to be even more careful due to my lack of proper depth perception. You think he has one eye, guys? You think he has? I love how the fact that he has one eye contributes absolutely nothing to the story other than his villainous name. That's it.
And his lack of depth perception, so he has
Yeah,
to be
and
more
the fact that he needed Sergey to look for a hidden panel by knocking on the panel and finding something that sounds hollow.
You can't do that with
Blinking
only one eye.
lights don't help either.
What a joke. I can't even find an emergency kit to get a flashlight from. The closest thing was a fire extinguisher. When I get out of here, I'm finding a way to add a basic set of tools to my watch.
Just like I feared, all of the other exits are pretty much the same condition as the one we were trying to open. Some are even worse, and though I'm pretty sure that at least one leads outside of the auditorium, I can't even get close to them. Wait, he's been walking around this auditorium for 2 hours?
Yeah, fucking 2
How
hours.
big is this auditorium?
Huge.
I can't even get close to them. Or rather, I don't know better than to try. Before I return to Hunter and accept defeat, I decide to change out of my suit.
And into my
Oh.
birthday suit.
This morning, I haven't been too sure about wearing my uniform underneath, but now I couldn't be more glad that I did.
So he's
It
wearing a
would be-
fucking suit with a school uniform underneath it.
It would be disgusting if I had to wear a bloodstained shirt all night, and I'm definitely not changed, and I'm definitely not changed in front of Hunter.
Also,
Interesting.
whose blood was it?
We can assume it's Hunter's, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I've been like
I thought-
stabbed and just
That's where I
didn't
thought that was
notice.
going, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess
then they
we'll
just
see.
like abandoned it.
When I go back, I see that Hunter has moved to the back of the auditorium, near to where we were crouching before.
Crouching.
It's as dirty and covered in debris as the rest of the room, but the seats are in good enough shape to sit down on, and Hunter is doing exactly that, his arms crossed behind his head as he rests his feet on top of the seat in front of him. I snap my fingers to get his attention, but he just turns his head the bare minimum to look at me.
Hey, bare minimum.
You
It's
were
me.
saying something about not needing help.
I scoff as I move, so I'm standing next to him.
So you just sat down and did nothing? I was gone for hours.
2
I looked
hours.
over here, but there's only so many exits. I was also waiting for you to calm down. We'd get nothing out of you yelling at me. Which, just to be clear, I wouldn't mind under different circumstances. But this is not the moment for that, is it? So,
You obviously won't listen to anything I have to say, so yes, I am done yelling at you.
He puts his feet down and straightens up. Oh, he is no longer gay either.
Rip.
Shit, it happened to both of them.
We now have 2 straight people and a poor supervillain. He
You know,
puts
I'm
his
thinking
feet
what
down
happens if
and
you do like
straightens
kidnap the
up.
professor and he's just also here.
It's infuriating how he manages to make something so simple look so smug.
good. You look nice, by the way.
I resist the urge to roll my eyes.
I. Singular.
You're not wrong.
Great.
Henchman?
Yeah.
Oh, I
was thinking.
I,
Don't
no,
you
I-
think it's hot?
I-
Oh, you
damn it.
you got this. You can be henchman.
I thought this was a different henchman.
I don't know.
I
It's
can take it. I
henchman.
can take it.
I think it's supposed to be Hunter.
It says henchman.
I know, but I don't know.
Do you want it to just be a different henchman?
I think no. This is definitely Hunter.
You know what? Let's do a different henchman for now, and we'll see. I was thinking, don't you think it's odd that this section didn't come down like the rest of the lobby did?
Shut up, henchman, we're fucking.
Many of the
It definitely
exhibit
was
halls are many of the exhibit halls are reinforced to protect the pieces being displayed from natural disasters or anything else that may have damaged them. Maybe the auditorium was built similarly, while the lobby wasn't. Repurposed rooms are common in old buildings like this. It's cheaper than adding new ones every time.
They repurposed a room to be an auditorium.
Yeah, it seems.
What was this room before?
It was a refrigerator.
Ballroom.
The blueprints weren't specific about the materials, so I can't say for sure.
Why don't we go out through the giant gaping hole in the back of the stadium?
A gaping hole.
Mm.
Mm.
Damn. And reinforced concrete blocks radio waves, right?
Unless they are strong enough, or they have a way of getting out like the signal booster. Why this sudden interest?
I can see where this is going. Let's use the diamond to boost the signal. Hunter raises his left leg and takes off his shoe.
Pants.
Sliding off the sole to reveal a phone hidden underneath. You had a telephone with you all this time, and it didn't occur to you that.
That's
Oh, this is you. My bad. My bad. My bad.
You had a telephone with you all this time, and it didn't occur to you to use it before we wasted hours looking for a way out.
It's supposed to be a last resort. Mostly because if it does work, it means the place will be full of agents in no time.
Oh, so you did it for me then? Now you're telling me that you don't know, or that you know what's better for me than I do?
I'm a gentleman, you see.
This time, I can't resist the urge to roll my eyes and I
I-
cross my arms.
Arms can be plural.
This is true.
But there's also the fact that a big operation would mean I wouldn't be able to work undercover here for quite a while. Don't you have some sort of way to communicate with your henchmen?
I do, but it's not very potent.
Oh, I can
Potent.
Potent.
It's designed to be used over small distances. So even if I
Oh,
were
small
right outside,
distances.
even if they were right outside, they wouldn't be able to get the signal.
Gives me a side glance, and I get the impression that as far as he's cornered, it's worse than not having one at all. His attention goes back to the phone, and he tries dialing a couple of numbers. The first one is
911.
6
the first
and
one
9.
is flat out dead, while the other has so much interference that it's impossible to tell.
912. Ah, just as I thought.
I take off my watch and turn it around, pushing one of the buttons on the lower side. I'm pretty sure it won't work, but I'm petty enough to. Okay, I thought he was trying to say pretty, but he was right.
But I'm pretty enough.
I'm pretty.
But I'm petty enough to try just because Hunter did. After beeping for a couple of seconds, the watch flatlines. I saw him put it back on.
What?
Same. It's
Wrecked.
dead.
This is the most loss we've faced since I died without realizing it in the first playthrough.
Yeah.
Yep. Great.
Right?
No?
He said same, it's dead.
Oh, I didn't hear you say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
I was hoping
dead.
I would be wrong about it. If I had to guess, I'd say that the agency will send someone to look for me as soon as they find out I didn't report back to my handler.
He's got a
Jeez.
handler.
It might be a while before they're able to pinpoint our locations at some sort of direction from us. What about your men?
Well, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure that no matter how angry my uncle may be, he won't let me die here. Or be sent to jail, for that matter. But this could easily end up with them getting arrested, if they are not careful. God, I hope they are not dumb enough to come looking for me without a plan. I'm sure they noticed the moment I didn't meet them outside, but there's not much they can do if they also have to deal with the police.
Sounds like we'll be stuck here for a while either way then. You said you were called Dr. Cyclops, right? Did I hear that right?
Yes.
As soon as I answer, I feel Hunter stare at my face. Our eyes meet for about a second before I turn my head away.
Dude, this is so much sexier.
Yep.
Yeah. I have never been self-conscious about my eye, but that doesn't mean I want people staring at it. Especially what I just wanted
That's
to
how
say
you
staring.
spell staring.
I know, I just wanted to say staring.
Alright.
Especially when they do what Hunter is doing right now. They don't know whether saying something would offend me, so they end up making that expression while they decide. Hunter is worse about it too, because he keeps mixing it with awful pickup lines.
Yes, it's because of the eye.
Was it during a job?
No. It was an accident. Just drop it.
Drop your pants.
Yep.
I expect him to
already
ignore
did.
me and continue asking about it, but instead there's a moment of uncomfortable silence while he thinks of something else.
Fuck.
So, did it hurt more or less?
Fine. Then what? You pegging me?
You fell from heaven.
Oh my god.
Holy
no!
shit!
Oh, terrible pickup lines.
That's. Ugh. Are you always like this?
What's the matter, Doctor? A little bit out of your a little bit of flirting and you're out of your depth. You didn't seem to mind back at the lobby. You were getting pretty friendly before you had to go.
I didn't know you were an agent then. If I had, I wouldn't have so much as spoken with you.
If saying so makes you feel better.
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing.
I ignore him as I begin to fiddle with my dick watch, trying to think of something else we could do to speed up the process of getting rescued.
What could we
There-
possibly do to speed up the process?
There really isn't much we can do except wait.
Except
Wait.
fuck. Perhaps I could do something with the laser? No, the beam is too focused. It would only make a small hole on the door.
If only I could move the laser while using it. Wait, my wrist moves. Hunter gets up and yawns, raising his arms above his head to stretch. When he adjusts the jacket of his suit, an idea comes to me.
Take off your pants. That's it. You still have the diamond, right?
Oh god.
I can use it to overload my watch. The explosion will be big enough to blow away the door and anything behind it, but not enough to cause any more structural damage. With the added bonus that it won't damage the diamond itself, of course. And even if the debris is too much for us to walk out, opening the door increases the chance of our communicator's signals getting out. Now, give me the diamond.
I'll give you diamond.
I extend my hand toward him. His expression suddenly becomes a lot less friendly, and he frowns as he crosses his arms.
I can't.
Why not? Don't you want to get out of here?
Of course I do. But the reason that we're in here in the first place is because I can't let you have it. I've got a better idea. I'm pretty sure I saw a fire extinguisher while we were looking for a way out. We can use it to freeze the hinges, and then we can break them off to remove the door from the frame.
Both options will probably work out just fine, but all things considered, while mine is less laborious, Hunter's is less risky. However, if I get him to hand over the diamond, that means I might be able to get away with it after all. It doesn't seem like he will just give it to me, though. I
Distract him and grab the diamond.
Oh, I think we definitely go with the once again with the distract and but slightly betray plan.
I am inclined to agree. Do we have anyone
Also,
from the
because
peanut gallery?
honestly, the fire extinguisher plan sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah, like freezing hinges and then breaking it off. Like,
Yeah, fire extinguishers
No.
work. They don't like make things cold. They just remove the oxygen from the environment.
yeah, you're not gonna freeze hinges by doing that. So I vote his plan is fucking stupid. Let's just grab the diamond.
Alright, let's distract him.
All right, we're distracting him and grabbing his penis. I mean the diamond.
I
oh
take
no!
a deep
Oh
breath,
fuck!
staring right into Hunter's eyes as I prepare myself for what I'm about to do. He raises an eyebrow, but says nothing. Before he notices there's something off, or I have enough time to gather his second thoughts, I grab him by the lapel of his suit and pull him down into a kiss. He's startled
much
for about a
sexier.
second, but then he starts kissing me back. I feel his hand slide to the small of my back, pulling me closer until our bodies are pressed against each other. I saw him put the diamond inside his jacket, so there must be a pocket in there. With some difficulty, I slip a hand under it and begin to feel around.
Is that a diamond in your pocket, or you just happen to see me?
Hunter doesn't seem to realize or isn't concerned about the fact that I'm actually trying to find the diamond, and he lets out an appreciative hum against
no.
my lips. I'm almost out of breath when I feel something hard and sharp. It's the diamond! I close my hand around it so that when Hunter steps away, I'm the one left holding it.
So is this the kind of thing that you're into? The destruction, the danger of meeting an unfortunate and untimely death? If you get that turned on by adrenaline, you could have told me before.
Realization seems to hit him right then, and he looks down as he pats his jacket in surprise.
Hey, that's not fair!
What's the matter, Agent? I thought that's exactly what you wanted. Well, I have the diamond now, so you might as well let me work. Unless you can stop thinking with your dick long enough to try and get it back.
My dick is plenty long enough.
I love how Hunter's chilling there with the diamond, just holding it in front of Hunter, and Hunter's just like, "Aw, shucks. Yeah, you took it.
Damn.
You're right. You have it now."
We know he has a
Resign
gun in his
sigh.
pocket. He could just pull out his gun and be like, "Give me it back, you piece of shit."
Hunter lets out a resigned sigh, and as he takes a step back to move beside me, he raises his hands in front of him as if to admit defeat. Presumably, it's so he can keep an eye on the diamond by watching what I'm doing, but without getting in the way. I take off my watch and open it, carrying out a pair of cables that direct the battery's power to the laser beam. As it does, the battery is made up of a small quartz, barely bigger than a small grain of rice. By taking it out and connecting the diamond instead, the watch will overload and explode. I keep working on it for a couple of minutes when it's ready. I head towards the door
Battery out of fucking quartz.
and play it's quartzanium, obviously. I head towards the door and place the watch on the floor.
Once I press the button, it will take the watch about a minute to overheat. If you want to do something stupid like stand close to it, be my guest. But I suggest you stay away.
Hunter nods silently before taking a few steps back. After I press the button, I run toward his side. The metal surface of the watch slowly begins to turn red as it heats, and it's not long before the light indicating a malfunction starts to blink. Once smoke begins to come out of it, it's a matter of seconds before the watch finally explodes. The blast removes the door from the frame completely, basically splitting it in half. It also gets rid of enough of the debris to clear a path in the lobby. We wait for a moment to make sure it's safe to approach. When nothing happens, we get closer and finish whatever is left out of the way. My watch is destroyed, but just like I had predicted, the diamond is in perfect shape.
It worked.
Don't sound so surprised. Of course it worked. Let's get out of here before something else
Before we fuck.
happens.
All things considered, the lobby is in really good shape, and the parts most affected by the explosion were the ceiling and the sides of the building.
Yes,
The-
the parts that... The floor's fine.
The entrance itself is really dirty, with the floor full of concrete dust and most of the decoration having fallen on top of it. But it's otherwise fine. But contrary to what I had hoped, it doesn't seem to be empty. There's a noise coming from the other end of the hall. It sounds like steps, and they're getting closer. Hunter puts his arm against my chest to push me back, and we both wait in silence until we can get a better idea of whose steps it belongs to. Alright, do you want me to do the henchman?
Nah, I can do it. Wait,
Okay.
you take it, you take it.
Boss! Are you here?
It's the henchman.
While I let out a sigh of relief, I can feel Hunter tense up. He must have been really certain it would be one of his own people who showed up first. As soon as the henchman sees me, he comes running in my direction. He stops just short of actually touching me, and I realize how awful I must look because he just sort of hovers his hands over me before putting them on his sides. Boss! You're alright, thank God! Sphinx is worried sick. He even wanted to come here by himself.
Dude, this guy needs a raise.
I can't imagine a single scenario where that would end well.
But he didn't, did he?
No, we convinced him to stay, just in case you managed to get out of here yourself. You know what? I've decided this guy's from New York.
I love it. I love it.
We suppose that you wouldn't want to explain things right now, on top of everything.
Good. Where are the others?
It's just me. Any more people would have been alerted by the police.
They aren't here yet?
Nah,
It's been
But they
fucking
aren't.
2 hours.
but they are on their way. They gave priority to closing the nearby streets and the highway. It took them a while to realize you hadn't gone away.
It took him 2 hours to realize that.
Wait a moment. You know Sphinx.
Hunter's eyes go wide, and I feel a certain sense of pride at the fact that the mere mention of my uncle's name still causes that kind of reaction in agents.
I I bet you'd like to hear about that, don't you? Yes, I know, Sphinx. The rest is for me to know and for you to wonder.
The idea of causing that same expression myself someday gives me a warm feeling in my penis. Right then, the henchman finally seems to notice Hunter's presence and pushes him aside, putting himself between me and him. I raise a hand to get him to back off.
Leave him be. Right now, all I want is to get out of here as soon as possible. Besides, the agent has promised not to do anything stupid. Isn't that right?
Hunter nods half-heartedly, and the henchman moves to the front as they exchange a glare.
Oh, and Hunter had knocked him out earlier. This is the same agent.
Lead the way then.
Same agent, 3 different accents. The atmosphere suddenly feels very uneasy, and I get the impression that there's something I'm missing.
It's the sexual tension.
Yep.
By the way, how did you know we were here? This place is huge, and in the state it's in.
Forget about it. It's none of your business.
Actually,
double cross.
Oh, jeez!
I'd like to know too.
I traced the signal coming from your watch, boss. Once I was close enough, I managed to pick it up.
There's no way he could have used the watch to find us. He was already here before we managed to get the door open.
Hunter elbows me to get my attention, and I nod to let him know that I noticed it as well.
You had one of those all along, and you didn't tell me, Doctor. Not trusting me is one thing, but that's the sort of thing you tell the person you're trapped with. I mean, my communicator is bigger, and we couldn't get it to transmit beyond the door. I'm a little jealous knowing you get better stuff than I do. The first thing I'm going to do when I get back is give the boys at development an earful.
Henchman, give me your phone. I want to call Sphinx and let him know I'm fine.
I forgot it.
I forgot about it.
I was in too much of a hurry.
You forgot. Just like that.
Sorry, boss. It won't happen again. I'm not convinced by his answer, and Hunter seems even less so. He begins rolling up his sleeves.
Sure you were. Turn around very slowly.
The henchman stops suddenly, almost causing me to run into him. When he turns around, he's frowning. For a moment, none of us move. He puts his hand inside his jacket. Alright, so there's Eye Patch Man.
Oh,
their
shit!
hands are up. And takes out a gun. Hunter gives a step forward, but the henchman is quicker.
Dude,
And
as
he
soon as I give up
raises-
the character, Justin makes him fucking go evil. Jesus, Justin.
Hunter gives a step forward, but the henchman is quicker, and he raises the gun and points it at us. Realizing that we're in a clear disadvantage, we both raise our hands. You're not as dumb as you look, Agent Hunter.
What can I say? I'm a man of hidden depth.
What the fuck does that mean?
That means he's got a big asshole for large dogs. Just exactly what do you think you're doing?
Sorry, boss. Just so you know, it's nothing personal.
Kid.
I was only hired to deal with Sphinx, but when I saw Agent Hunter was here, it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. The reward of the Soviets offer for his head has a lot of zeros added to it that really don't appreciate losing agents, you see. See, actually, it's now where I actually appreciate the voice change, because I feel like that contributed to giving himself away. It was actually a fake accent all along.
I
Wait,
believe it.
So, hang on a minute. The Soviets, if their guy fails, so they have no idea knowing what has happened inside. They don't know if Hunter is one or Gaylord. What is his name?
Sergei.
Sergei. They don't know if they don't know who won the fight. And in the first in the case where Sergei wins, they send in 2 agents to go kill Sergei. In the case where Hunter wins, the henchman comes in because they want to avenge him and are offering millions of dollars.
Yep, that sounds right.
They have no way of discerning between the two situations. Oh shit!
Sergei is the 5th one he's killed this year.
I'm a badass!
That you were still here when the bombs went off was just an unfortunate coincidence. I tried to get you out of the way. I did, but you were too stubborn for your own good. If you had listened to me and left when I told you, you'd have gotten to live another day. I look at Hunter. From the expression he's got in his face, I can tell he's thinking something. It's not like I have a better plan myself at this point. So I'll just have to trust that the time I can get him is good enough for whatever he has in mind.
Go kiss the henchman.
I thought we were friends.
The henchman stares at me for a second, then expression goes straight from confusion to disbelief as he waves the gun in my general direction.
That's his henchman, not Hunter.
Okay, yeah. Friends? I bet you don't even know my name!
Your name is
Shake my
Henchman.
head. I shake my head, doing my best to look offended as I try to recall his name. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see Hunter staring at me with a frown.
Of course I
Oh,
do.
shit.
Well...
It's Henchman.
Dan Francis!
Daniel Francis!
What the fuck kind of a choice is this?
How
Well-
does
Definitely Francis.
His name is Joey Wheeler. That's what he sounds like.
I'm an ace at fucking card games. Brooklyn Rage!
He's not a
Daniel-
Francis. There's no
Is he
fucking
Daniel
way.
or Francis?
Dude,
Daniel or
it's totally Francis.
Why is it Francis? He's got a
Look at his
Brooklyn
Francis ass haircut.
All right, that's
You know what?
somewhat
I'm
valid.
inclined to agree. Let's go with Francis.
Do we have any opinions from the chat? I don't know if they're still watching or not.
I haven't seen anything from them in a while.
Yeah.
Alright, Francis.
All right.
Okay, I've looked at both options, and yeah, they're both wrong.
Okay.
Graham?
Francis. Your name is Francis.
Seriously? Francis retired months ago. We threw a party for him and everything.
You fucking idiot. Right. He used to be in engineering. His daughter wanted to be a dentist, didn't she?
Okay, so the other option is Daniel, which is the guy that Keegan was fucking before he fell in the Shark Tank.
Oh no.
So, Francis is a better option.
That's
Yeah, we
funny.
definitely took the more realistic option. Great.
You remember that, but you don't remember this guy's name.
Very few of the henchmen have families, and Francis used to bring her to the base sometimes.
We'd fuck.
Francis, of course.
Enough of this. You two shut up and kneel down.
Suck my fucking dick.
The henchman puts his finger on the trigger, and despite my act of defiance, it takes all my willpower to not close my eye, in expectation of being shot.
Hey, maybe he can close his other eye. Just doesn't do anything.
If Hunter really is planning to do something, he'd better act now. ... Nothing happened. No gunshot, no pain, no bleeding to death on the cold museum floor. I open my eyes again, and I see Hunter and the mercenary struggling to get the gun away from each other.
Wait,
Well,
but
this would
did
be
he
the
use all this effort to not close his eye?
While this would be the perfect opportunity to get away, all I can think about is the henchman saying that he was hired to kill my uncle. If it hadn't been for all this, we wouldn't have known. With just a little luck, he would have gotten away with it. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. In a moment of anger, I hold onto the diamond and hit the henchman as hard as I can in the back of the head, knocking him out. He falls on top of Hunter, who pushes him off and onto the floor. He's unconscious and bleeding from the wound, but he's still alive. I'm about to hit him again when Hunter gets up and grabs me by the waist to hold me back.
Come on. That's enough.
I look down. Despite all the blood, the henchman's wound doesn't look too bad. At least, not bad enough for him to die from it. I wipe my hands on the hunter's jacket, and he laughs.
Do you get shot by your own people often?
Sure. I hire them based on their ability to kill me.
I rub the bridge of my nose.
How did you realize that he was a mole?
The way you blew up your watch, there was no way he could have used it to locate you.
What do you mean the way you blew up? Just the fact
The
that
way
you
you
blew
blew.
up the watch.
He blew it. Ew.
But it wasn't only that. As far as he was aware, the Russian was still here with us. He didn't even ask about him. And given the damage to the building, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume you were hurt. Yet, he showed up alone, and without some way of communicating with the others. Was he planning to take us both on and help you, all at the same time? Besides, we haven't been here for long. It's only been almost 3 hours. I bet it's not enough time to make the trip to your lair and back, much less talk to Sphinx.
That's pretty good reasoning, actually.
Oh, was that a compliment, Doctor? Did I hear that right?
Don't push it, Agent. Oh, did you see his smile? Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to leave before... You know what? I'm not even gonna say it this time.
That's a good idea.
Still with his arms on my waist, Hunter spins me around so that we're facing each other, and moves a hand under my knee to pick me up.
You're not even conscious. I'm just like, I'm gonna fucking carry you out of here.
Once he's sure that he won't accidentally drop me, Hunter begins to walk away from the henchman. I'm about to protest when a sudden gust of wind rushes through the damaged ceiling, taking more pieces with it. Startled, I hold on to Hunter, putting my arms around his neck.
You're not gonna carry me all the way outside, are you? Some of us do care about our reputation.
About that.
Hunter puts me down with one swift move, and just in time for me to see that the global helicopter that keeps getting closer until it stops right above the museum. I stare at it for a moment in disbelief. Then I turn to look at Hunter.
Looks like my ride is here.
Oh,
shit!
Look at that, he's grabbing his ass too!
I have no time to question the situation. As soon as I open my mouth and before I can even react, Hunter turns me around and dips me into a kiss. For the first second or so, I'm too confused to do anything except let myself get manhandled by him. And the kiss is awkward and sloppy. Finally, I come to my senses. And I try to push him away, but Hunter just uses the opportunity to readjust our position, sliding his other hand right down to my ass. The kiss is softer now, and much to my surprise, Hunter is actually a pretty good kisser.
I'm fucking James Bond. What do you expect?
He doesn't move until I feel myself running out of air, and he parts by biting my lower lip. When I look at him and I see that he has the biggest, most obnoxious, shit-eating grin I've ever seen in my life.
Penis.
What the hell was that?
That's just me taking back the kiss you stole from me earlier. Now, as soon as we got out of the auditorium, my own transmitter started working.
So you were just buying time before the agency came for you? I almost got shot because of it.
I was kind of worried about how I was supposed to do it. All things considered, someone showing up to kill us did make it slightly easier. And in my defense, there are way more fun ways of passing the time. But you weren't up for any.
He makes a gesture that I don't really recognize.
It's circle with one finger and then like pointer other finger.
But judging by the expression on his face, it's probably something obscene. I feel my face grow hot, both from anger and embarrassment.
And arousal.
Giving me one last grin, Hunter suddenly grabs my dick, begins to run toward the
Stop.
helicopter, I'm left staring at him with a dumbfounded expression as one of the helicopter's doors open and a ladder falls down just from the inside. When he's right under it, he jumps to get a hold of the ladder and begins to climb as the helicopter slowly rises. I could,
The helicopter slowly rises.
yes, I could try running after him, but there's no way that I would be able to reach him all the way there in a time.
Hey, what about the Soviet?
You take care of him. It would be more paperwork for me. Take him, leave him, whatever you want. I'm looking forward to thwarting your plans again. If you're really serious about doing this for a living, make sure to give Global a call. Better luck next time, Doctor!
The last thing I see as the helicopter flies away is Hunter waving at me before closing the helicopter's door.
And stripping off his pants.
Yeah, I raise my fist and shake it angrily in his general direction.
I raise my dick and shake it angrily.
Curse you, Hunter. This isn't the last you've seen of me. Or the most you've seen of me.
With a helicopter and Agent Hunter gone, there's no point in staying here any longer. For a moment, I consider taking the mercenary back to the lair with me. However, at this point, I'm so tired of everything that even if he wasn't unconscious, I didn't have to drag him, I still wouldn't. I really don't want to bother with somehow securing him, getting him all the way to the vehicle, and then to the base. Whatever the police does to him will be bad enough, I suppose. And if I'm lucky enough, he'll be found by Soviets first, instead. I search his unconscious body for the keys to the vehicle and give him a kick on my way out for good measure. Fortunately for me, he was dumb enough to have brought one of our vehicles rather than his own, so it's only a matter of driving back to the lair. The first thing I see when I come through the laboratory door is my uncle. He's sitting on the steps with Madame Mantis standing next to him. He's on the phone shouting at whoever is on the other line. He looks furious, but most importantly, he looks worried. I didn't think I've ever seen him like this, which just makes me feel worse. I clear my throat, but he's so focused on the call it's not enough to get his attention. Madame Mantis, however, does notice me. She leans over and puts a hand on my shoulder, in his shoulder, shaking him gently to get him to look up. Instead, he slaps her hand away and turns around so that she ends up facing him back. I don't care. I want all of you in there I want all of you there in this very...
What was he saying?
I think very instant. I don't care.
In this very
I want
instance.
all of you in there this very Mantis frowns, putting her hands on the side of his head to force him to turn around.
Dude, your uncle is totally straight.
Oh
Do you want me
god.
to be- I can be
Oh
mad.
my god!
Sphinx, quit it. Keegan is here.
Femme fatale much.
Our eyes meet, and as we stare at each other in silence, I feel a shiver run down my spine. He finally stands up, dropping the phone as he runs to meet me. He hugs me, and though his grip is not particularly strong, I'm so tired that it's enough to leave me out of breath. It takes a conscious effort to not faint into his arm.
Oh, you have daddy issues.
Keegan, thank God. You're all right.
Wait, you can't have the Madam
I'll be
and
Mantis.
Sphinx. Yeah.
All right. I was so worried when you didn't come back with the henchman. Then there was the newscast.
There was a newscast too?
Look at you. You look terrible. He stops mid-sentence and he takes a step back and grabs my wrists, raising them so my hands are right in front of his face. Between messing with my watch, all of the struggles in driving the vehicle here, they're sore and bloody.
What?
If he
Driving
didn't-
the car has made my
if he-
hands bleed.
If he didn't hurt so much, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't feel my fingers anymore. Look at your clothes. Look at your hands. Just what were you thinking? Why didn't you call? I bite my lip, telling him the truth will only anger him more. Mantis seems to think so as well, so she moved behind my uncle's back and is now shaking her head to tell me to stop talking.
I'm sorry, Uncle. I forgot.
You forgot? What the hell does that mean? By now, a group of henchmen has begun to gather around us. Mantis hushes them away while pushes me toward the door.
Give the boy some space, all right? God, one might think this is the first time any of you have seen a man that's been beaten up. But your uncle is right about one thing. You look terrible. Go get changed while I calm everybody down, and meet us in the office when you're done.
I offer a nod to Mantis that I hope looks more like I'm sure of what I'm doing, and less like I can't wait until this is all over. She seems satisfied by it, so I turn around and leave. I briefly consider showering, but decide against it. I don't want to get too relaxed until I've had my chance to speak with Mantis and my uncle. I throw away everything I'm wearing and change into a clean uniform before heading back into the office. I get there before anyone else does, which to be honest doesn't give me much confidence. Once there, I take a seat and practically collapse into the desk, letting my head fall upon it. A moment later, I hear someone come in, but I don't bother raising my head until I feel a hand on my shoulder. As soon as I realize it's my uncle, I straighten up. The medic will be here in a couple of minutes. He said that unless you faint, nothing to worry about. I brace myself for some sort of scolding, but instead, he gives me a sympathetic squeeze as he shakes his head. Tomorrow, I'm going to be furious. In fact, I'm probably going to put you on the first plane to America I can find. But today, I'm going to try to be understanding. I know you had a rough day, so no matter what you say, I won't yell at you for it.
I failed badly. You were right. I overestimated my capabilities, and it ended up like this.
That's it.
That's it.
Keegan, don't test my patience.
There's nothing to say. I told you already.
Fine. If you don't want to talk, then don't. Realizing that there's a good chance this will devolve into an argument if we continue, Mantis clears her throat to get her attention.
Sphinx, love. Why don't you go and see what's taking the medic so long? Poor Keegan looks like he just might faint after all. We should really make sure he doesn't have a concussion.
He doesn't look too sure at first, but Mantis just keeps glaring at him until he gives up and nods, leaving right after. As soon as he closes the door, Mantis lowers herself next to me, pushing me until I'm at the edge of my seat and there's enough space for her to sit down next to me. She waves her hand dismissingly in the door's direction.
He'll get over it. It's not like he'd actually stand having you a continent away, despite what he said. He'd sooner buy you a whole new school.
What did he hear anyway? He said something about the news.
Not much. The transmission was cut a little before your speech ended. After that, the only thing they said was that you'd blown up the museum. I didn't believe it for a second, of course. You and Sphinx are the same, and you have a soft spot for all that intellectual nonsense. Now come here, and tell me what really happened.
I stand up, leaning forward just enough for me to look into the hall, and I make sure that my uncle can hear us. I still lower my voice, just in case.
Mantis, you can't tell anyone about this. And I don't mean just my uncle. I mean absolutely not a single soul.
She presses her index against her lips.
My lips are sealed, however my thumbs will just instantly put this on Twitter.
The whole thing was just meant to be a distraction to steal the Ongeluge. But just as we were about to get it, a couple of agents showed up. And they were looking for the diamond too. When the building collapsed, I ended up being trapped with one of them. On top of that, the henchman that went to get me turned out to be a mercenary. He said he'd been hired to kill my uncle, and he tried to shoot me.
Oh dear. That's something you're going to have to take care of later.
I know. I'm already planning to go over all the staff members that have been working here for less than a year.
And whatever happened to the mercenary?
I shrug.
I'm not sure. I beat him and fucked him and left his corpse there.
So, do you think in the case that he survived, he might come for you?
On you.
No, that's not it. The thing is, the things is, Mantis, would it be weird if I told you that I had fun?
All signs of worry are gone from her face, and she smiles at me.
Other than the part where I almost died twice, I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life. All the planning, standing in front of a crowd, the anticipation of victory, it was amazing. Even if I'm pretty sure that all of this means I won't be getting into the league anytime soon.
She stands up so suddenly that I have to take a step back just to make sure that she doesn't knock me down.
See, that's the spirit. A true supervillain doesn't let failure get in the way of their dreams. You'll just have to try a little harder next time, sweetheart. Wait a moment. If you got the Angelou, there's still a chance that the League will take you in. No one knows about the agent or the mercenary. Because you have the diamond, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's right.
I put my hands in my pockets, eager to show her the diamond.
He
I
could show
freeze
her.
as I remember the mercenary lying in a pool of blood, with the diamond next to it. The same diamond which I forgot to pick up on my way out. I let myself fall back into the now empty seat, and I cover my face in my hands as I let out a groan. Mantis pats me on the back, though I can tell she's trying really hard not to laugh.
There. How about you buy me dinner, and you tell me what you would like to do next? The end.
The end.
Question.
Or is it?
Well, that one was. I feel like they just like included the Russian guy because they wanted to have branching choices, and then
Yeah, one of those definitely was not as much of a love story.
Yeah.
It was like half simulator, half brooding. But I
Yeah,
guess we'll talk more about it tomorrow.
Yep. I don't want to pursue any more paths. I think we're good.
Yeah, no, that was sufficient. We got. I mean, those are the two main storylines. I feel like the other branching options probably didn't actually change that much.
I mean,
Yeah.
he did get some action, so.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I feel like the one where you either kidnap the professor or steal the diamond, that probably changes it a lot.
That's true.
who knows?
That's a big turning point. Well, we'll just have to hope that Evan got that one, did that one, and that or
Yeah.
I feel like, I think other people would have gone for the professor.
yeah, but
Yeah, I like the diamond,
yeah, it worked out.
even though the saving grace on both sides was let's connect the diamond to my watch.
Yeah, that was kind of stupid.
I like
but...
the part where in the second storyline, like we could just leave the auditorium to go to the emergency exit. But in the first one, he like goes to open the door and just like dents it with his fist.
Yeah.
Also, why the fuck was it called Blind Men?
Because they're blind to the fact that they're horny for each other.
Yeah, GG's, Logan.
Yeah, thanks for participating, Logan. Giving us
Yeah,
those.
that was actually
those
really
choices.
fun. I wouldn't have enjoyed the game nearly as much if I hadn't done it this way.
I agree.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience.
Yeah, this is the second game that I've played that's like this, and the first time I also played it in a group, and it was a lot of fun. So it's definitely a good group game, I think.
Oh no. Just thinking, like, oh no, we just changed this to be, instead of doing an indie game, we just do a different dating sim every week.
I don't know, it sounds like JD might quit if we do that.
Yeah, JD would legitimately just be like, "No, I'm out." Oh shit.
I think he doesn't understand that, like, the point of it is that you can play as much or as little as you want.
This is true.
It.
You're just greatly recommended to play. And then discuss.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well-
well, goodbye.
Yeah. I'll catch you guys later.
See ya.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ugh. Well, thanks for hanging out. For enjoying Blind Men. That was a pretty fun game, I guess. But I have been streaming for over 5 hours today, and I want to go watch some anime before going to bed. Yeah, thanks, Gray. We did it. We did it. Woo! So, yeah, with that, that'll be the end of the stream, I think. Probably do some more streams later this week. We'll see. Well, Justin and I will probably be doing some Pokemon random battles at some point. We'll have to pick out a day. Potentially. Justin, do some random battles. Oh, well, you're the one who's trying to get me to play, so we'll see. Nah, we'll have a good time with that. Okay. All right, that's gonna do it for me. I suppose we can find someone to host. Maybe. We'll see who's live right now. Doesn't look like anybody. Man. Maybe there's somebody. Maybe there's a DK streamer doing something. Oh, my my information didn't update. That's a big rip, actually. Right? Oh yeah, it didn't update. Well, oh well. Thought we were playing Donkey Kong all night. My bad. Alright. I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.